Football never sleeps on the Billy There podcast. Inside the show tonight, we're going to get some power rankings. We're going to take a look at some early thoughts at all positions and hand out some awards. So come along, grab a drink. Let's chill for a little while together. Jump into conversation right after this. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Barely There podcast. It is a beautiful Wednesday in Chicago, and as usual, I got my boys Jason and Kyle in the house. How are we doing today, boys?
Fantastic. How are you, sir?
Oh, living the football dream in the middle of the summer. Our Cubbies dropped 2 in a row to those stinky San Francisco Giants. And we're done with that conversation. We'll talk about that on Saturday.
What's going on, Crooked Commish? Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, what's going on, Crooked? Who else is in the house out there? We got PT57. We got Crooked. Crooked's got his fantasy show going on tonight at 8 o'clock, boys and girls. So if you're feeling froggy after we're done here, jump over to the Chicago Clubhouse. Check them out. Check out that fantasy show. I'm sure it's going to be great, man.
As always.
And as always, we don't have a lot of Bears news, but we do have some NFL news as the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers pull off a trade and send George Pickens in a third-round pick. And the Cowboys send a third-round pick back, and the Cowboys acquired George Pickens today. And, boys, I just got to say this. I really thought that they don't have a quarterback yet in Pittsburgh. But, there's a lot of problems when it comes to George Pickens. And, Kyle, I know you remember the draft when he was drafted. I was sitting there with you, and I really wanted this guy to be a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. I was really unaware at the time of kind of how psycho he just might be. Because he's a little off his rocker. You see him during games quit on routes. You see him give up on his teammates. When he was asked in an interview during the season when Russell Wilson came in and directly asked about, hey, do you think this offense was going to be better? He gave a one-word answer and goes, nah. Like, I don't know if Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in all of football, can't reel this guy in. I don't know what they're going to do in Dallas. This is going to be a big job for Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones. Good luck. You now have a great weapon outside on the other side of CeeDee Lamb. For me, it's a big upgrade from what they've had, a Michael Gallup or a Braden Cooks. But again, is the attitude and everything that comes with the baggage that comes with George Pickens, is that worth it? Do you think this was a good trade for the Dallas Cowboys? Who wants to lead us off, man?
I'll just say this. I mean, honestly, I don't care about it too much because it's got nothing to do with the Bears. It really doesn't affect them very much. But what I will say is this. First of all, they hired Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator. He's not a very big culture guy, or he is. His cultures just suck. Mike Tomlin doesn't keep guys that are big problems and he doesn't think he can fix, right? He will let them go. He's got no problem letting dudes go. You bring this guy into a Dallas team with a first-time head coach, I believe, right? I believe this is Schottenheimer's first time at being a head coach. And a notoriously lackluster culture guy on defense. George Pickens might wind up being a cancer in that locker room, and he might wind up doing way more harm than any touchdown or catch he's going to get. I don't know about you, Kyle. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's a head case. There's no doubt about it. And I do think he's a distraction. I don't know if I'd call him a cancer, but he certainly does create problems, and it's problems you don't need. And if you look at the two organizations in comparison, I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the perennial all-stars of the NFL. I mean, this team hasn't had a losing season in, 16 years?
The standard is the standard.
Yeah, they have the second most Super Bowls of any team in the NFL, I believe. And you look at the Cowboys over their last 10, 15 years, it has not been good there. And I just don't think the Cowboys are in a position to be bringing in such a headache or such a problem or distraction. They've already got enough distractions. They're already screwed on the salary cap. And on top of that, guys, we can talk about George Pickens and his attitude and personality all day. he's also he's going to be on an expiring contract here too. And the Cowboys are already in a pickle when it comes to who they're going to pay, who they're not going to pay. Is Micah Parsons going to be there next year? Is they going to let him walk? Are they going to franchise tag? All this stuff they have to deal with. And now on top of it, you throw in George Pickens. I like the guy as a player. I like him when he's on the field and he's trying, but as in terms of culture and as somebody in the locker room, I don't know if this is a great move for the Dallas Cowboys. And I said this about Stephon Diggs when he got traded to the Houston Texans guys. There's just some situations where the talent isn't worth the distraction.
Yeah. And I will say this, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Cowboys offense, they got a good offensive line. They're now going to have Jake Ferguson, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. They drafted Jaden Blue. Dak Prescott is returning from his injury. So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot on the offensive side of Dallas in a very, very competitive NFC East. I do think I think the Giants are going to be competitive. I wouldn't say that much better, but they definitely improved on that defensive line. That defensive line is going to be ferocious for the Giants. I don't know how they're going to do offensively. I mean, I have a big feeling that it's going to be a lot of Malik Neighbors, Malik Neighbors, get the ball in his hand. I mean, who else do the Giants got? On that team, Darius Slayton, Tyrone Tracy Jr. I mean, none of these guys are really ringing a bell for me. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for fantasy purposes. I don't know that I'll be picking. I don't know that I'm going to be picking George Pickens, to be perfectly honest with you. But I mean, if he falls to me in the right spot, I just might. Does he entice you more from a fantasy option, guys? Seeing that it's going to be in a pass-heavy offense. You've seen Dak Prescott. He's almost passed for 5,000 yards 3 times in his career. When that offense is flowing, they can put up some points. Is this a fantasy move that excites you, or would you rather have him still in Pittsburgh, who doesn't have a quarterback, opposite DK Metcalf, or is him opposite CeeDee Lamb a lot more of an attractive option come fantasy season? What do you guys have a feel on that?
I don't know, man. Maybe it hurts CD a little bit, but CeeDee Lamb is still CeeDee Lamb. I mean, he's good no matter who's throwing him the ball. He had like 900 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. He's not, cracking the top 20 wide receivers at that right there. So, I mean, yeah, in mid rounds, it might be a guy you're looking at, but he's not going to be a guy I'm going to target in fantasy football. I guess maybe if he's best available, I already got a couple wide receivers in there, and whatever I throw him in, maybe. But yeah, he's not on my radar.
Yeah, I'm not going to dog on the player. I think George Pickens becomes immediately one of the best number 2 receivers in the NFL, and I certainly like him a lot more in a dome than I do on the outside, especially in a pass-heavy offense, like you said, Sean, especially when you get into those months of December. But, I mean, it's separating the two, fantasy and real life. I mean, I would have no problem having George Pickens on my fantasy team. I've done it before, and I knew he was ahead last year when I drafted him. I just don't like him for the Dallas Cowboys as an organization, as a team. I mean, I think this is probably a guy who's going to annoy his way out of Dallas, and they're not going to re-sign him. They're not going to extend him. So you just wasted draft capital on yet another head case, and you're creating more problems for the Dallas Cowboys. To be honest with you guys, and you can disagree with me if you like, but I think at this point, Jerry Jones is just kind of losing it.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. I was just about to say, dude, he's lost it. He's lost his touch for what a good player is and what the culture of the team is. And his son, I don't know if his son's going to be any different. I know they kind of co-manage the team or they're working together, but Jerry's making all the decisions. Jerry's not letting anybody else make a final decision. And I think he's just too old and too out of touch with football. It's not 1965 anymore. Jerry Jones isn't your coach anymore. He needs to hand the team over, man.
Kind of the same way we feel. Kind of the same way we felt in Chicago, but it looks like we got a little silver.
Yeah, like Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
But the difference between Chicago and Dallas is, we always knew, and I think McCaskey knew himself, that he wasn't capable of making all the football decisions. Jerry Jones will never relieve those responsibilities. He's always going to pretend like he's the coach, the general manager, and the owner. He's always going to play that role. So, yeah, I'm with Jason. If they want to change the culture there, if they want to get that thing right, I mean, it's time for Jerry Jones to give up some of that control. And you know what? Even with how good competitive the Cowboys have been in recent years, there's been a few years where they made the playoffs, but they're still the laughing stock of the NFL. How pathetic is that?
Do you guys think that Schottenheimer was the right hire?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think Eberflus was either. I mean, you just saw what Eberflus did, and that guy said, yeah, I want this guy to be my defense coordinator. Now, he's probably going to be a decent defensive coordinator, but with all that culture problems that they have, and I don't know, I just wouldn't have done it. Now, look, I could be wrong. I mean, he comes from a good lineage, right? So maybe he's going to be a really good coach. I don't know, but you got to also remember too, man, about Dallas. This is a whole new offense for them. I know they got weapons and they should be relatively successful, but there's going to be some growing pains in this offense. And then to throw in a guy who's going to bitch and moan every time a ball isn't thrown his way, or not thrown to the right route, or he's running the wrong route, or whatever it is, doesn't want to block. It's just, I'm telling you, man, it's going to be a cancer. It's going to spread like wildfire, just like it did on the Bears. We've seen it happen firsthand.
And we could say this. That's one of the knocks that we have in our 39th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Luther Burden is that he is a completely different player when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. So hopefully the coaching staff here will get him under wraps, or we might have our own George Pickens. I
think our coaching staff and our assistant head coach is going to get him in line real fast. And look what he did for Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is a head case, gambling like on the side of the team. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, 100%.
So 100%. We'll see.
So, I mean, there's a big difference. The Bears at least they believe, I think most of the fan base believes that they are instilling a new culture, and it's going to be a winning culture, and these players are going to want to be a part of it. Dallas, I don't think that anybody has any idea what's going on over there. And like Jason said, Schottenheimer is a first-time head coach. Matt Eberflus was not good at discipline. He wasn't good at holding players accountable. Who on that staff is going to hold George Pickens accountable when he starts to bitch and moan?
It's going to have to be player-led probably. But that can sometimes get messy as well. So it's going to be interesting in Big D. I do have them when we get to these power rankings. I do have them making the playoffs. 3 teams actually from the NFC East in the way too early power rankings making the playoffs. I think it's going to be a really competitive division. I think the NFC North is going to be a really competitive division. And, I think the top half of the West will be a lot of question marks for Arizona, in my mind anyways. I think Arizona could be one of those sneaky teams this year. They got a lot of talent. Can Kyler Murray put it all together? Drew Petzing never figured out how to really use Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. And, they have to figure out a way to get the ball into their stars' hands. So the NFC is going to be very interesting. And, I have the Bears at the very bottom of my poll, and we'll get to that here shortly. But yeah, I like the NFC East. I don't know where you guys stand. We can get right into the power rankings and start talking about these teams and where we think they are in May. And we'll remember this. I got mine written down.
You want to go worst to best, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can. You want to do worst to best, Kyle?
Yeah,
that's fine. And just remember, everybody out there, these are the way too early power rankings. This is all probably going to change. I mean, some of these will stay the same, and some of them are probably pretty fairly obvious to most of the listeners. But some of the stuff's going to change after preseason once you start to see how these rookies are going to be involved, or how some of these free agents, if they're about here to be starters, role players, so on and so forth. So please be mindful of that when you listen to these rankings.
Yeah, I was just going to say that these rankings reflect the current state of each team after the 2025 draft, going into the 2025 season. I kind of looked for myself. I looked at offseason moves, general trajectory, kind of not strength of schedule because we have no schedule, but some of the teams that are on their schedule played a factor in some of me moving some of my players up. But, there's still some teams that are in the rebuilding phase. They're looking to bounce back from disappointing seasons that could put some things together that can change these rankings for me come late August, early September. So, yeah, I agree, Kyle. Just everyone remember, it says it right in the title, way too early NFC Power Rankings.
There's still a lot of free agents to be signed too, guys. There's still some good talent out there. So I think teams right now are maybe trying to get their salary cap figured out and kind of game plan. They don't really have to do that much right now anyways. You're really kind of evaluating talent, especially were there like 6 new coaches? That's pretty much the norm or whatever. So you got these teams that are really starting to evaluate talent on the team, much like the Bears are. So you got to see what you got before you know what the team's going to look like.
What do you guys want to do? Like 3 at a time, like 16, 15, 14?
No, let's all do let's go around the room. Yeah, it's 16. Sean, you started off. Who do you think is going to finish dead last in the NFC?
I have the
in
Detroit
2025?
Lions. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Don. I'm just kidding, Don. I do not. I have the New Orleans Saints at 16. This team, last year going into the season, I picked them to have 5 wins. I don't think they got much better. They lost their quarterback. There is going to be no Derek Carr there this year. They don't really have a lot of stars in that roster either. So, I think it's going to feed Alvin Kamara a lot, but I don't see anything special about New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree.
with you.
I got them in last two, Sean, and there's just a multitude of reasons, and we could sit here and talk about it all day. But I mean, reality, it's pretty simple. I think that the Saints right now are kind of in the position the Bears were in when Ryan Poles first got here. They're in salary cap hell. They need to clear as much of that dead cap as they possibly can. They really didn't make many offseason moves. They have a first-time head coach with not a very good roster. Like you said, they're going to feed Alvin Kamara as much as they can, but that guy's long in the tooth as it is. He's dealt with injuries in recent years past. And like you said, Sean, there's just no quarterback. There's no quarterback. And now you got a whole new coaching staff that doesn't know they don't know what the player, who they have on the roster. They don't know what style of defense to run, what scheme. They're going to have to figure that out as the season goes on. It's just all signs point to disaster in New Orleans.
I agree. I had them dead last as well. I mean, they're clearly in a rebuild. Yeah. I'm, draft wise, I was a little puzzled by the Shuck pick. I mean, I guess you needed to start somebody, but you got to think that if they're last, they're going to be in the hunt for that Manning lottery pick. That's I'm
they got a good shot.
Well, I heard that Carr is actually still pondering and he may get surgery, so there's a really good chance he ain't playing at all this year.
I think Carr's out. I think Carr's out for the year already.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they drafted Tyler Shuck. But, I mean, man, there was better picks than that. I don't know. They do have a new coaching staff. Kellen Moore is pretty good. I mean, he's coming from, Super Bowl champs. There's new staff there as well. But I don't know. What's crazy is Moore is 11 years older than Shuck is. That's crazy. And he's a first-time coach, and that's a rookie quarterback. So I don't know exactly how he's going to be able to command a room and lead a team, let alone an offense. I mean, it's easy to say that he was the reason why Philly was good, but it's also easy to say that, the running back is why they were really good. The offensive line is why they were really good. They did draft Kelvin Banks, so their offensive line should get better. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to help the young rookie play. I don't know how good it's going to be. They are getting a lot of guys back healthy at wide receiver. I mean, their wide receiver room doesn't look too shabby. Man, I mean, you've got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Brandon Cooks is a deep threat. They've got some weapons on offense. So I don't imagine they're going to suck, but I don't see them winning a lot of games because it's just there's too many news going on in New Orleans for them to be any better than the last team in the league. And that's just me. But yeah, I guess it's a public thing.
Moving on to 15, I have in the NFC, I have the Carolina Panthers. And this could be a mistake by me. They had a strong finish in 2024. They won 2 of their final 3 games, I believe. It looked like Bryce Young was starting to get it. They did get some weapons. I absolutely will say this. They drafted Ted McMillan, Nick Scrouton. They drafted Trevor Etienne. They got my boy Lathan Ransom from Ohio State. So they did line up on some talent. And I don't know where you guys stand. I'm a big fan of Dave Canellis. I really do like Dave Canellis a lot. And I think he's going to work some magic. I'm hard pressed at this moment to take him out of that 15 spot. They might wind up being better than the Giants by season's end, maybe. But for right now, I have them at 15 in the power rankings to start the season. And again, they could end up better than the Panthers. They could end up a little bit better than Atlanta. So,
What's up, Ant Mass?
Ant Mass.
Brian's joined us. Ant Mass is joining us. Broski's obviously here. Don Burr, Breaking News, Bruce, Crooked Commish. We appreciate you guys joining us as always, man. Please hit that like button if you haven't already.
And if you guys have any comments about your about these teams. They're your power rankings.
Yeah,
Throw
put 'em in
the
there.
chat. We're going to chop them up with you. So let's go. Grab a drink, sit back,
Kyle.
and let's enjoy this. Who you got?
Kyle,
at
who's your 15?
Kyle?
Yeah, my 15 is probably going to surprise you guys a little bit, man. I'm sorry, but I have to put the Seattle Seahawks at 15. And there's a slew of reasons, guys. I mean, first and foremost, this is a team who just signed Sam Darnold. I think Kevin O'Connell made Sam Darnold look better than he is last year. If you look at the guy in totality in his career, he's not a good quarterback. I do not think he's going to have a good season in Seattle. I mean, you guys, it's not like he's throwing superstars over there. They let Tyler Lockett go and they traded DK Metcalf. So right now, I'm just hard pressed to find who they're going to throw the ball to outside of Jackson Smith and Jigma, who's probably going to get double covered. I like the run game there, but both those guys have dealt with injuries. Now they just drafted another running back. I mean, I just don't. I think right now that team's just kind of a mess. I think there's not much talent there. I think they're also doing kind of like a salary cap clear, pretty much is what they're doing. Get rid of a lot of that premium talent that they had on the roster there for a long time, trying to get younger. But I think it's going to be a rough season for the Seattle Seahawks, and I think the Seattle Seahawks are in a pretty tough division.
Yeah, I Seattle, I don't know if I have them that bad. I don't really predict they're going to have like a stellar season, but I'll get to them in a little bit later.
I got them at 5 wins.
Yeah, I mean, 5-6. Yeah, I have the Giants actually, and then Sean, you were mentioning the Panthers. I got them up next, but the Giants are the Giants. I mean, you would expect them, and you could probably make the case that they should be higher because, they do have weapons on offense like Tyrone Tracy. They just drafted Cam Scadaboo. They got Malik Neighbors from last year. So they have weapons on offense. They just drafted Jackson Dart, but he is a rookie. So really the reason why I'm ranking him down here, it's rare that a quarterback comes in and does as well as Jaden Daniels their first year. It just doesn't happen very often. So I don't expect that there's going to be a lot of wins in New York this year, but I think the team did get slightly better. They just are going to need a couple of years for that quarterback to develop. You've got what's his nuts, Russell Wilson. I mean, he's going to start, but honestly, I think they're going to lose so many games by like midseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they just throw Jackson Dart in there and say bye-bye to Russell Wilson. I know he's a good, locker room guy or whatever, but if he was good, they would have kept him in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? It's just basically the start and the end of that. But we'll see. They're in a really tough division too. I mean, I know the NFC West is better. I know, Sean, we were talking about it before the show. And, now that I think about it, there are, 2 good teams in there at the very least with Arizona coming in. But, you've got 3 decent teams in the NFC East. You've got, of course, the Super Bowl champs. Then you've got Dallas and you've got Washington in there. So the Giants clearly on the bottom of that division, not making the playoffs. So I don't know if they're maybe going to be the 15th worst team, but they're definitely in the bottom 5. I just don't see them winning more games than, probably 3 or 4, to be honest with you.
All right, I'm moving on here. And Kyle, we're going to be almost in lockstep here. I have Seattle at 14. Same reason as you. I don't trust I don't trust Sam Darnold at all, and I agree 100%. I think Kevin O'Connell was the reason he set him up in winning positions. He also had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, a stellar offensive line. He just doesn't have these things in Seattle. So I don't think Seattle's going to be climbing up that board too much this year. I think they're going to struggle to get wins. I got them right now between 4 and 5 wins, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won 3 games. So
yeah, and Sean, you're talking everybody wants to talk about that running back room, but there's no offensive line. And I don't know if you guys looked at Kenneth Walker's statistics. His rookie season, he averaged something 4.5 yards per carry. His last season, he averaged like 3.4. I mean, he's a good player. He's just stuck on a bad team. There's just no talent on that roster, guys. The Seattle Seahawks, there's no talent there. At the end of the day, talent is what wins games, and the Seattle Seahawks don't have any. And Sean, you and I are pretty much interchangeable here because my 14th ranked team is going to be the Carolina Panthers. And there's God, I could talk about this for the next 3 days, guys, but the Carolina Panthers are just disastrous organization is what they are. I think they have the worst ownership in the NFL. And you know what? As much as I don't hate McMillan as a player, I did not like that pick at all for the Carolina Panthers. That defense was absolutely atrocious last year. Sean, we talked about many a time. If you have a fantasy running back and they're playing you have 2 fantasy running backs on the same team and they're playing the Panthers. Play them both. This is a team that allowed 3 games in a row with 3+ rushing touchdowns, and then they had one with 2, and then they went back to 3+ rushing touchdowns. That Carolina Panthers team is just not good, and they didn't do enough to address the defense. Sean, you know I'm not a believer in short quarterbacks. I'm certainly not a believer in Bryce Young. I didn't like him when they drafted him. I thought that pick should have been C.J. Stroud. I think the Panthers are in sports purgatory, and they're going to be there for a long time until something changes there. So my bottom 3 guys, since we're going to do this kind of 3 at a time, is going to be, it's going to start with the Saints at 16, the Seattle Seahawks at 15, and the Carolina Panthers at 14. Just 3 good teams, 3 teams in the NFC that I think are going to be pretty much freebies when you're playing them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Kyle. I have actually the Panthers at 15. Listen, they are definitely in a rebuilding.
14 because the Giants at 15, so 14 for the Panthers. Right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry. So the Panthers. If Young can continue to show the promise like he did in Alabama and at the end of last year, it seems like them benching him did a lot for his, I don't know if his mind or just what, but he definitely played better. And I think you can attribute that to Dave Canales. I put here they have a really good coach. Sean, you literally just said it. I think Canales is a great coach. I think he's rebuilding that team, and they need it because they've been rebuilding since Cam Newton. He should be better this year, Young, but his wide receiver room did get better with Ted McMillan. Honestly, I think they had a pretty good draft too. First of all, they got Leggett and Adam Thielen. He's old, but the guy can still catch balls.
He's still playing well.
Yeah, Hunter Renfro's right behind him too.
So better than Leggett
there if they need to. When they drafted, though, they drafted Nick Scorton, Princely, Uman Milan, Trevor Etienne, Latham Ransom. Those are all really good, solid picks. They got Chuba Hubbard.
I was going to say, I thought they had a good draft.
Yeah, they had a great draft.
Yeah, that's fine, but these guys take time. They're not
going to come in and that's why they're down the bottom. But if you're a Panthers fan, you should be pretty happy though, because it looks like they're turning the corner here, and 3-4 years, this Panthers team is going to be something to be reckoned with. Chuba Hubbard, like I was saying, he was like 8th, I think, in total yardage. He's not going to catch the ball, so I don't know if you really want him in fantasy, but he will run up the middle, and they're going to give him the ball a lot. So I think they improved this year, not by much in the wins category, but from an overall standpoint, if you're a Panthers fan, you should be excited that sometime in the future the Panthers are going to be good.
I'd be much happier if I was a Panthers fan if you were starting Jackson Dart. That's where I think the Panthers should have gone. Yeah. I think they're doubling. What they're doing is doubling down on Bryce Young, and it's going to cost them another 3 years. What they should have done is draft Jackson Dart.
Maybe they're trying for the Manning lottery.
I mean, I think all of us expected them to replace Brian Burns, right? And then they come out and say we're taking Ted McMillan at 8, and we were all just like, man, it's just the Panthers being the Panthers. You're drafting pass catchers with nobody to pass the ball. It just doesn't make sense.
It all depends. If Bryce Young is somehow better, they'll be fine.
Well, the Panthers still did that with Leggett. They drafted Coker. They drafted.
And how those guys look. They look like garbage, and it's probably no fault to their own. I mean, there's just not a good passing game there. And I agree with you guys. Listen, I agree with you guys with Canales. I like him a lot. I don't think the owner and the GM are giving him the tools to succeed.
I think Dave Canales is the best thing the Carolina Panthers have done recently.
And knowing the Panthers, they'll probably make him the scapegoat and fire him because it's a terrible organization.
My next, moving on up, what are we at, 12? 13? What are we at?
13.
My 13 is the Atlanta Falcons, a team that I really, probably one of my more favorite NFC teams if I had to root for somebody outside of the Bears. But, yeah, I mean, they have some talent in the offense with Robinson, London, and Mooney, but I don't know, or did I see enough of Michael Penix to say that Michael Penix is a guy that's going to lead this guy? I do like Michael Penix as a prospect. Will he develop is a whole other question. But if you go and look down their defense, A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates are literally the only 2 guys I've ever heard of on that side of the ball. That is going to be a problem for these guys, especially running up in that in the NFC South. So I have them right there. I think I'd have a little bit more faith if I knew Kirk Cousins was going to be there. But from what I'm also hearing through some grapevines that Kirk Cousins might not even be on this team come opening day. And now you're rolling with Michael Penix. And hopefully Michael Penix will prove me wrong and be a superstar stud. And yes, I did love their draft. Jalen Walker, James Pierce, Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman. Obviously, guys, they feel the way I did looking at their depth chart, saying who the hell are these guys on their defense? Because they spent every draft pick on the defensive side of the ball. So that's why I got the Atlanta Falcons down at number 12. Who's your number 12, boys?
Kyle?
Are we only 13?
13.
13, sorry.
Yeah, my number 13, guys, as you guys both talked about them already, the New York Giants. And you know what? I loved the Giants draft. I think it was actually one of the best drafts of any team in the NFL. You guys know I'm a fan of Jackson Dart. I think Abdul Carter, as much as people like to nitpick, should he be in the top 5? The fact that conversation is happening at all, that means he's obviously going to be a good player in the NFL. I love the Darius Alexander pick out of Toledo, defensive tackle. I think Russ Wilson's going to be better than people think. I can see that team somehow stacking up 7 wins. I think the Giants actually are going to have a better season than people think. The problem with the Giants, you guys, is it's Brian Dable and what's the GM's name there? I don't even want to think about it.
I mean, Kyle let Saquon walk. That's his name.
Yeah, showing it's time for these guys to go, man. And maybe it was just they were just victims of circumstance and they weren't as bad as we think. But it's just been a disaster since they got there. I think this team will show improvement. I think Malik Neighbors is going to end up being one of the best receivers in the NFL. But by the time it's all said and done, I do not like that running back room with Scadaboo and Tracy. I think they both play very specific roles, and they're both really good at that role. Their offensive line has improved. Like you said, Russell Wilson is much better than anything they've had in the last 3 years. And if Russell Wilson can't do it, you could bring Jackson Dart in or Jameis Winston. I think this team is capable of winning games. I just think overall that the leadership there is just not good. And it's been the same problem the Giants have had for the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you had. I mean, I actually had them lower. So, I think they have potential there. You're right. The Abdul Carter, I forgot to mention that. That is a good pick. They obviously needed help on defense. We'll see what happens with him, but he's probably going to have a really good career. My 13th pick is the Cardinals. Now, I know you guys aren't going to agree with me here, but my big thing is I'm trying to see them also in their division. And I think there's clearly 2 better teams in their division. I think that wild card spots are going to be taken up by the NFC North and the NFC East, with maybe one of them coming out of the AFC West, and it's not going to be the Cardinals. So, are they the 13th or the 12th best team or the 9th best? Maybe. I don't know. They're not in the top 10 and they're not in the top 5. I definitely don't think so. They actually are another team, Sean, that spent nearly all of their draft capital on defense, save for a guard, I believe, in the 6th round. But their first 3 picks were pretty good. I mean, they picked up Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, and Jordan Birch. We've talked, I think, about all 3 of those guys in past shows. Yeah. I probably should put them higher. I don't see them beating out the Rams or San Francisco. I just don't. So honestly, I think their biggest hurdle for the future is I know they're probably in love with Kyler Murray, but they need to get rid of that guy. He's not the quarterback that's going to take them to the Super Bowl. He just isn't.
Right. I agree. Moving up to 12. We're at 12.
Yep.
12 is for me is the New York Football Giants. Kyle, you guys know, everybody should know that watches the show. I profess my love for Jackson Dart endlessly. I love this kid. I think he's going to be a star in the league. I think he fell into the right hands. And I know, Kyle, you just kind of knocked Brian Dable a little bit. But if you go talk to Joshua Allen, who is by all means one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in a long time, he owes his entire career turnaround to one Brian Dable. Whether he's a good head coach and can make this wonderful draft that they had, because Kyle, I couldn't agree with you more. This is one of my favorite drafts. Carter, Dart, Darius Alexander. I love Marcus McBough late, the guard that they got. I think they did a really good job filling their needs. I don't know. I think Cam Scadaboo can be a good back if they use him correctly. And like you said, Kyle, they're role specific. I think Scadaboo, if you use this guy inside the 20 as a bruising, pounding back, I think he'll do really well for you. But the question does remain, is Brian Dable a good head coach? Can he take this talent? Can he mold it into a competitive roster? We haven't seen it. I just don't know. So I'm going to keep them at the bottom of my rankings. But I really do like the roster. I love this defensive front.
That defensive line, man. You put Abdul Carter across from Brian Burns, a healthy Brian Burns. That's going to be. They're going to be tough to run against. They're going to be tough to get. They're going to have to get the ball out quick against that team. But Sean, I just think it's the leadership. I agree that there's talent on the Giants roster. There's no doubt about it. It's just the leadership. And I honestly believe Malik Neighbors could end up being a top 3 receiver in the NFL at some point in his career. I really do.
He's going to be better this year with Russell Wilson's ability to throw the deep ball. He's definitely going to be better this year. He's going to put up some.
I think he's going to be a great fantasy player this year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so
Go ahead,
my number 12. Where'd it go? Here it is.
We got really quick, Jay. We got Broski Bear. He's going on record. Will Howard and Tyler. How the hell do you say his last name?
Shuck. I think it's Shuck.
I don't know how you get Shuck out of that, but whatever. He's going on record. And Broski Bear, I'm going to say to you, Jackson Dart's going to be better than they're both. But I do love me some Will Howard. Go ahead, Jay.
And look, Cam Ward's not like, he's not a superstar, but he's not bad. Cam Ward will still be good. There's a reason why he went first overall. All right, so my number 12, believe it or not, is the Falcons. And I hem and hawed on this one for a while. They've got so much talent on offense. For some reason, they just can't put stuff together. I don't know, if their quarterback rookie last year can come in and actually make a big step his sophomore year, that's great. If not, I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if they don't move on from Cousins, if they're hemming and hawing and flip-flopping quarterbacks like they, really they didn't flip-flop last year, but they did change out quarterbacks in the middle of the season, which is never a good sign for a team. They could be a sleeper, though. They lost their starting center and, of course, their starting defensive tackle to a team over by the lake that starts with a C, ends in an O, and has Hickok in the middle. But, they did spend pretty much all of their draft capital on defense, with the exception of their 7th round pick when they picked the tackle for some reason. I don't know why you would want to pick a tackle in the 7th round, because you're probably never going to start that guy. But, they got Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., great pick, Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman Jr. So they did try to invest in the defense. They got Leonard Floyd they picked up this offseason too. He's not my favorite edge rusher in the world, but the guy's averaging 10 sacks a season. So he's not a schmuck. I think they, of course, have the weapons on offense, and they're going to be something good. I love Darnell Mooney. He got hurt later in the season, which kind of hurt me. He was my little sleeper pick last year in fantasy. So I'd like to see him do well again this year. But, honestly, I've got them at number 12 just because I'm really not all that excited about their quarterback play. And that's pretty much the start and end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I have the Atlanta Falcons real quick. I think by the time Tyler Shuck is starting the NFL guy, there's a good chance he's 27 years old, which is absolutely insane. But
I told you, dude, he's like 11 years.
That's younger. Crazy, dude. I mean, he is the next one. What was his name? Brandon Whedon. Yeah, but I agree with you, Jason. I got the Falcons at 12 as well, and pretty much for all the stuff you just said. I actually like the Falcons' youth on the roster. I think at some point the Falcons are going to be a really good team in the NFL. If you talk about Jalen Walker, James Pierce, Xavier Watts, you talk about Bijan Robinson on that backfield. Their offensive line is actually a little bit underrated. Obviously, I'm not super happy with the way they address their center position after losing one of the best centers in the NFL to the Chicago Bears, and the Ryan Nizul there, whatever, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but that's for a rookie quarterback going into his first real full season and have created, he's going to get pressured up the middle. It's going to be some disastrous games for them there. I do like the Atlanta Falcons roster. I don't love it. I think it's getting a lot better. I think they've actually done pretty good at drafting. Problem with the Atlanta Falcons is I think they're just a year behind. I think they kind of are where the Bears were last year. I think they're the Caleb Williams season the Bears had last year at 5-12. That's kind of like where the Atlanta Falcons are going to finish. Maybe a couple games better because Michael Penix has a little more experience. And Sean, like you said, the pass catchers aren't terrible. I think Drake London is overrated. I think a lot of people talk about him like he's one of the best.
He's overrated?
Yeah, I think he's overrated.
I think he could be better if he had a better quarterback.
I think I've seen that guy. I think I had a draft last year where that guy went in the 3rd round. He doesn't have belong going in the 3rd round of fantasy football. And I think Drake London should be a number 2 on a really good team in the NFL. And he's obviously their number 1 receiver. But yeah, I just think they're a year away, guys. That's why I have the Atlanta Falcons at 12.
Well, my next going into 11 before we approach the top 10. So I had the Saints, Panthers, Seahawks at 14, Falcons at 13, Giants at 12. Just outside of the top 10 is the Dachshund of the Desert, Kyler Murray, and the Arizona Cardinals. I have them at number 11. For some of the reasons Jay said, I really think they nailed this draft. Their draft is one of my favorite drafts this year, along with the Giants. I mean, Nolan, Johnson, Birch, Simon.
3 great picks, dude. Bam, bam.
Yeah, I mean, they really nailed this draft. So I do like them, but as you said, Jay, I don't know that Kyler Murray is the guy to lead them to the promised land. The other thing that I really don't know about with this team is their offensive coordinator. I know not everybody at 4 Stars is a fan of Jonathan Gannon. I like Jonathan Gannon. I don't think he's Mike Tomlin. I think he's a very young coach learning on the job. I think he did a fantastic job in his first year last year. The guy I hate there is Drew Petzing. I cannot stand that guy. I think he's a terrible offensive coordinator. He did not build his offense around who they invested in Marvin Harrison Jr. The offense should have been built around this guy. He should have been peppered, got the ball into his hands. So
you're right. What a disappointing season Marvin Harrison Jr. had.
You know, you want to know what's funny about that, and a lot of people don't know this, and I think Kyle and I talked about this at one point. Him and his father had almost identical to a T rookie seasons in the NFL.
Well, dude, Sean, some of it was identical.
Yeah, I mean,
it's insane. How
there's a silver lining.
Yeah, but the silver lining is one of them had Peyton Manning as his quarterback. The other one's got Kyler Murray as his quarterback. So.
I don't hate Kyler Murray. I just think that he's just a guy. He's not the guy. He's just a guy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to pick Kyler Murray to win a Super Bowl in his career, and you know I'm going to take this one, Jay, because I also have the Arizona Cardinals at 11. And Sean, everything you just said, I agree. Josh Sweat was a great addition in the offseason. Walter Nolan, amazing draft pick. I still think Will Johnson could be the best cornerback in this draft. Jordan Birch, another great player for them. Their defense got leaps and bounds better. Simon, I think Cody Simon was about their 4th round pick. That guy's going to be a good linebacker in the NFL. He should have been drafted higher than that. But Sean, you know where I'm going here. You know, I love Marvin Harrison. Trey McBride might be the best tight end in the NFL, maybe outside of Brock Bowers. But you know where I'm going here, Sean. I do not like quarterbacks who are 5'9", 5'10", 5. It's never worked in I think people, every time I say that, it just doesn't work in the NFL. I play the odds. People are like, well, Drew Brees. I'm like, all right, there's been 2,000 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You guys point out one. So the odds are obviously stacked against you. I don't like Bryce Young. I don't like Kyler Murray. And if they had a better quarterback, if this team say just you could pick a middle of the road quarterback, guys. If they had somebody like that, I would have the Arizona Cardinals ranked higher because I actually do like the roster. I think the roster is better than people think. And, you know, people keep dogging on James Conner. This guy's been a good running back in the NFL for 5-6 years now. He's very consistent.
When he's healthy, he's very good.
Yeah, he's not special, but he's consistent, and he's better than people give him credit for. This roster isn't really all that bad. I just don't like Kyler Murray. I do not like Kyler Murray. If I were the Cardinals, I would be moving on from him as soon as I possibly could.
Yeah, I don't like Kyler Murray, and I don't like the offensive coordinator. And if he's the one putting your game plans together, you're going to run into problems like you did last year. Because if you look at the Cardinals, they can put up 30 points one week, and the next week they're putting up 6. It's like –
and that's all because of Kyler Murray. For some reason, I think there's just some D coordinators that have him figured out. And that's why you got to get rid of him because it's not that he's a terrible quarterback. You're right. He's just a guy. It's that there are defensive coordinators that know if he's good or not. So they just know him. You know what I mean?
On top of the fact that he's 5'10", whatever, he's also the injury problems are becoming a concern for him. They should have been a concern last year. This team should have done something in the draft to address the quarterback position. They were in the right spot in the draft to pick quarterback last year, one of the best quarterback drafts we've ever seen in the history of football. And what did they do? They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. Listen, I love the player too, but Kyler Murray, if you know your quarterback's not going to win a Super Bowl, what are you doing? You're just wasting time. That's all.
And you know what? In today's NFL, these contracts don't get cheaper, right? As these guys go on. So how much money do you really want to pay Kyler Murray? If you're, I mean, you might as well just let him go. He's not worth it.
Yeah, if I'm the Cardinals GM, he is gone. Danny O, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. He says 49ers will win their division. I think that was kind of a clapback at somebody here said the Rams would run away with. I don't know. Somebody here I think said the Rams would run away with that division. So
Broski.
Danny disagrees. He says the Niners. We'll get into that a little bit later. So Jason,
we'll get into that.
We're going to get into that.
I think they're coming up here. Some of those teams.
Your number 11.
My number 11 is the Seahawks. Like I told you, I know you guys were down on them. I just have the sneaky feeling. Here's the thing. I think they're going to be a sleeper. I know they lost Geno, and I know you guys don't like Darnold, but it's not like Sam Darnold all of a sudden forgot everything he learned in Minnesota, and he's going to be a completely different quarterback.
Yeah, but they also lost their number 1 and number 2 receivers.
Right. So they did lose Lockett to the Titans and then DK to the Steelers, but they added Cooper Kupp. to pair with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's also a very, very good wide receiver. Probably, I think, at the end of it, going to have a better career than both Lockett and DK. They added Grace Zabel in their offensive line, right at the center there, to help out bolster that run game. So, Kenneth Walker III probably just going to have as good or even a better, season. They added the best safety in the draft in Emin Worry and a very good tight end in Elijah Arroyo. Many analysts say he's probably sneaky good. And then drafted a sleeper in Jalen Milroe. Don't be surprised if you see Jalen Milroe. He's probably not going to start this year, but don't be surprised if you still see him on the field, maybe setting up as a tight end or sitting up as a wide receiver. I think that guy's just too talented to not get him in the game. And we'll see. I could be completely wrong and off base here. They might just put him in the quarterback room and have him sit behind Sam Darnold. But I don't think Sam Darnold is the type of quarterback that you necessarily want your rookie quarterback of the future to be learning under. So I think the plan is eventually, maybe in a year or two, to have Jalen Milroe start. But man, I mean, Jalen Milroe is such a physical specimen. I can see them just saying, "Hey, you're not a quarterback anymore. You're our, tight end. You're our wide receiver." It could happen. I mean, it has happened before.
Yeah, when Cooper Kupp is out for 6 weeks with a sprained ankle, then maybe that would be a good time for them to do that, because
if he's healthy, he's a reception machine, though.
I love Cooper. He's one of my favorite players ever to play football. He just hasn't been healthy in 5 years. I mean,
I can't predict who's going to get hurt, though. And you have a pretty good idea, but the 49ers coming up here, I mean, one of the injuries is one of the key reasons why I don't have them higher, but we can get to that in a minute. Sean, who is your number 10?
My number 10 is the team that I never talk about, and I'll tell you why I have them at 10 and outside of the playoff picture.
Ooh,
that's right, because this guy right here is overrated. And that's where it begins. I don't think they've overhauled this roster very well. They went into the offseason.
You mean when they did nothing in free agency?
They did nothing. Well, they did do something in free agency. Just maybe not enough.
They got Hobbs. That guy sucks, dude.
I was just going to say, they got Hobbs and they got Banks. And, there was a lot of Harvard dreams of them trading for Trey Hendrickson and DK Metcalf. And none of this came to fruition. None of it materialized. So then they end up with Hobbs and Banks. And, if I want to call a spade here, I thought their draft wasn't horrible. I think they picked up a couple of good players. That what the hell's that kid's name?
Savion Williams.
No.
Savion Williams. Anthony Belton. Matthew Golden.
Who's the Caroline? I think.
Anthony Belton. Anthony Belton was the offensive lineman.
Yeah, he was okay.
It's the Packers, Sean. We get it.
It's Baron Sorrell. That's his name. Baron Sorrell, the edge from Texas. I had to look him up. I couldn't think of his name. I try to block anything about this team out of my memory. I will tell you this though. I hate to admit this. I want to bang my head off this desk right now. Savion Williams is going to be a problem. I'm not as sold on Matthew Golden as everybody else is. I think he's going to be a good NFL player. I think Savion Williams might be better than him. Savion Williams can do a lot of things on a football field, dude. A lot of things on a football field.
Hey, do you remember when their starting running back said they don't have a number one wide receiver, and Packers fans were like, "Oh, you're a jerk. You're an idiot. I hate you." And then what do they do in the draft? They go and they try to get a number one wide receiver. So Packers fans, you just proved yourself stupid.
Yeah, and again, what's the old saying we say about Jordan Love? He's good enough to what?
Break your heart.
That's right. And we also have one of these because this man owns this team. Let's go. Undefeated in Green Bay.
I love that.
I'm taking them, leaving them at 10, outside of the playoffs. And at the end of the year, I hope they're hovering around 14. Who you guys?
We got to win in Lambeau this year. That's all gone. It's. I want him to spend his whole career undefeated.
One thing we all got to do is, we broke down this draft probably more in depth than we've ever broke down a draft before because we're on these podcasts now. But remember, a lot of these guys that we love in these drafts aren't going to get a lot of playing time in the rookie season. It's like that tight end for Seattle. It's going to be especially tight ends, defensive linemen, defensive tackles. These are very long transitions for these guys in the NFL. But Sean, my 10 is the Dallas Cowboys. I know you're not going to love that, Sean, because I know you like their offense a lot. But it's just purely based off of the fact that this team just can't pull their head out of their ass. That's pretty much what it is. I think the Cowboys do have a lot of talent. I just think this team's a disaster. I don't like the coaching hire in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that Dak Prescott's capable of staying healthy. He's proven that over the last 3 seasons. I think the George Pickens trade is a good player, but it could get kind of messy there. Like Jason said, I don't know if I necessarily say cancer, but if it could be cancer, it could certainly going to be distraction. I like what they did in the draft. I like Tyler Booker. I like Jaden Blue. I don't think they had a terrible draft. I just think the Cowboys are who the Cowboys are, and until they change the culture, they're going to continue to be in the middle of the pack in the NFC. And I got them at 10, man. I just don't. I don't love that
Kyle,
team.
the one thing that, and I'm banking on this. If you go look at Dak Prescott's career, he gets hurt every other year. He got hurt last year. So this year, based on his career, he should stay on the field.
I think they've also pissed. I think they've also pissed Micah Parsons off too, guys. I mean, I think that guy should have been paid before CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott. I think he probably is their best player, but
100%.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I don't know. That's my number 10, guys. And I could go on and on and on, but
well, I'll tell you what. You can add a little bit more because my number 10 is also the Dallas Cowboys.
All right.
Here's the thing. Their defense should be solid. Their offense should be solid. I'm not sure if they're going to make a big splash record-wise. Like, I don't see them winning like 15 games or anything like that, just because they're simply in a very tough division. Even when they're playing, the Giants, it's not going to be an easy game to play. That's still going to be a tough game. But they did add Dexter Fowler from Washington. They added Ezraku to put at the other side of Micah Parsons, which should be pretty impressive to watch. Should cause some havoc for opposing QBs. The real question is, can Dak bring home a Lombardi? I don't think he can. He's really good in the regular season and not that great in the playoffs, much like their last big starting quarterback was. Here's my biggest problem with them. Number one is I would not have traded. I was saving this. I know we were talking about it earlier, but I would not have traded for George Pickens when you have a very capable wide receiver in Allen just sitting there. You could pick up Allen and have a very, very, very good wide receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb.
Jason, they just don't have any money. They don't have any money left. Cowboys don't have any money. I agree with you. I think Keenan Allen. I think they probably would prefer Keenan Allen. They just don't have any money left. The only way they could acquire or could add a receiver was a guy in a rookie contract via trade. They could. I think they wanted to bring back Amari Cooper. I think that's what they were talking about originally. Is they wanted to bring back Amari Cooper, but they don't have any money.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons has to get paid, right? Are you letting that guy leave Dallas?
No. You're signing that too. Your fan base will like riot on you if you do.
Micah Parsons should have a statue outside of Dallas at some point.
He should.
I'll tell you what. This goes back then to poor management, which goes back to what we said about their owner. Like, dude, you need to retire. Let somebody else take over.
Yeah, that's why I have them down at 10. I just the coach. I don't trust Schottenheimer. I don't trust Jerry Jones. I don't trust anything that's happening in Dallas. And to be honest with you guys, I can't believe I'm saying this because you have to imagine I wasn't alive when the Cowboys were dominating the NFL, but I almost feel bad for their fans. I mean, that's just a disaster.
Well, if it makes you guys feel any better, my number 9 is them boys, the Dallas Cowboys.
We're all pretty much right at the same spot there.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, Phil, he's still a free agent.
What's that?
Sorry, Bears fan for life. Phil asked, is Keenan Allen still a free agent? Just curious.
And you're right. It's probably due to the money. That's all it is.
Well, the reason I have him there, I think they lost a couple of key parts. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence, the veteran pass rusher, he signed a 3-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's a huge, tremendous loss for the defense. Sean,
sorry to interrupt you, man. Have you guys ever seen Jeffrey in here before?
No, Jeffrey, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, I don't see Jeffrey in here. Where's Jeffrey?
Jeffrey
Wilson.
I'm with you, Jeff. I think it's
Jeffrey?
the Chase Claypool type of thing, dude.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it, dude. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, man. Continue to leave comments. We'll try to get to them as much as we can here.
Really quick, 100%. To our 2 new guys, Joe and Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no worries. Zach Martin, 11-time Pro Bowler, he retired. That's a huge loss on the offensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence, signed 3 years with the Seahawks. These are 2 big-time leaders. You have a new head coach in Schottenheimer, first-time head coach. Your offensive additions, Kyle, I know you're going to love these. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams. They really brought up that running back room. Paris Campbell, he'll obviously be sitting behind Pickens, and although I like Paris Campbell, I think he's a very serviceable wide receiver in the NFL. They just didn't do much. They did bring in Fowler, like Jay just said. CJ Goodwin, he re-signed. They got Elam from the Bills to add a little quarterback depth.
Oh my God, that guy is terrible. Dude.
What did they do to beat the Eagles? Did they do anything in the offseason to say, hey, we're going to compete with the Eagles?
What they did is they took players who were good but probably getting a little bit older, and they replaced them with players who were average. Yeah. The Cowboys didn't get better in any way, shape, or form, if you ask me. Besides George Pickens, which, like we said, that could become a problem.
100%.
Hey, Ron. Hey, really quick, guys. Ron, thank you so much, man. Those comments make us all feel really good.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
It's only a great Bears channel because
what up, Ronnie boy?
You guys in the chat, guys. You guys make this channel. You guys are our community, and we love you guys for it. So thank you very, very much, man. Really appreciate y'all. All in all, I look at a really beat up team from last year, the Cowboys. And they were able to win 7 games still. So that's kind of why I know Schottenheimer being the new coach. They what was the guy that almost came here? Why can't I think of his name? The Cowboys coach last year.
That almost came here.
Oh, the old Green Bay coach.
They were talking about he was going to be the Bears head coach, and then he wasn't.
Oh God, thank God.
Who's the head coach?
He's the
Packers head coach, McCarthy.
Yeah,
McCarthy.
Oh, Mike McCarthy. I'm like, I thought you were talking about
Dan
Quinn.
McCarthy had a lot to do with that injury-riddled team having 7 wins last year. So I do see a very talented offense that can put up points, that they can win some games, in the bottom of that schedule. Maybe they get 7-8 wins again this year. I just don't know, but that's why I kind of put them there. There's a lot of question marks in Dallas, including, as we spoke about,
ownership.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you're looking at these teams, you almost try to live in the moment, like you're watching a Bears-Cowboys game. And I just think the Cowboys are a very beatable team. That's what I think. I think they're just a very beatable team for me personally. I think they're going to win about 50% of their games, which puts them right in the middle of the pack in the NFC. So I'm going to have a 10. Next, Sean, I got my 9 is Green Bay Packers. That's my 9. I think the Green Bay Packers are overrated. I think Jordan Love is overrated. I think the Packers had one of the worst. Sean, it is one of the worst free agency years I've ever seen in the history of football. I mean, this is a team who's like, we're in a really tough division. We feel like we're close to competing with these teams like Detroit and Minnesota. What should we do in the offseason to make that leap, that bound, to get closer to them? Nothing. Let's do nothing. Let's do absolutely nothing. Let's add the worst corner from the Las Vegas Raiders, who the Raiders wanted nothing to do in re-signing, and pay him more than DJ Reed got paid. And he sucks. Hobbs is terrible. Go look at his numbers, guys. He's not a good corner. And if that's your replacement for Jair Alexander, you're in trouble. I do like some of their draft picks. I like Matthew Golden. I think Anthony Belton's going to be a good offensive lineman in the league at some point. And Sean, like you said, Savion Williams is a guy to watch out for. I just don't think that's not enough to me for the Packers to put themselves over the edge. I just don't think this team did enough in the offseason. I think the best move they've made in the last 3 years was Josh Jacobs. And that's pretty much the only move I really respect that the Packers made in the last 3 years. Outside of that, man, this team is they just have these monotonous off seasons, and they stay exactly where they were the season before. And Sean, like you said, Jordan Love throws too many picks. It's going to bite him in the ass this year again. They're in a very, 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 very tough division. And I think there's a good chance the Packers finish last. I do. And this is not you guys, this isn't biased. This is my honest to God opinion. I really do think the Packers will finish last.
Honestly, I've seen them slowly get worse. It's not like a dive, but they're not headed up in this direction. They're just slow.
Yeah, it's like they're just floating down the river while the rest of us are zooming by in motorboats, man. You got they're just not. The Packers have become a team that have started doing things that they had never did in the past. You can tell. I mean, you guys, the Packers made Jordan Love the highest paid quarterback in the NFL off 7 good games. That's not the Green Bay Packers we've watched for the last 50 years. This is a franchise that paid Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And then
because they just think that if they have a quarterback, he's going to beat Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. They just assume that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's insulting. It's arrogance. And Packers fans should be severely upset with how this team has managed this roster over the last 3 seasons.
And Kyle, there's some validity to that too, because everyone thought after the first year, where he started off slow, then he had those 8 good games that he got paid, that contract he got paid on, everyone was like, "Oh my God, we got another Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre." And
That's insulting. That's insulting.
There was
if I may do this again,
lots of it.
Yeah,
this has got to be how they feel.
And Sean, how many conversations do we have last year going into the season where like this team, how arrogant can you be to believe that you can go in the NFL season without a number one receiver and be a championship contender? That's absolutely bullshit. That's you, the Packers, just thinking we've been the Packers for the last 50 years, so wins are just going to fall in our lap. You've got an overrated quarterback who's not as good as you think. He turns the ball over too much. He's more like Brett Favre than he's Aaron Rodgers, but he's neither of them. And if they think that he's either of them, that's insulting to both of those guys. Hall of Famers, first ballot Hall of Famers. And then you go into the season without a number one receiver. And then when you do tell us, oh, well, Christian Watson's probably our number one receiver, the guy who plays 6 games a year, that's your number one receiver going into the offseason. And then you guys, I actually like Jaden Reed. You're talking about a guy, Jaden Reed wanted to play for the Bears. He's a Chicago guy. I wanted him here. I like Jaden Reed, but that guy disappears like it's going out of style.
Yeah. No, I agree. Listen, we're going to get to my Packers take here in a minute, and it's really brief because, we'll get to that in a minute. My number
Kyle,
19.
really quick, Jay, I think Cal just created a short.
my take on him might generate a short as well. I put the 49ers here, and I'm going to tell you what. This is me, honestly. Somehow the 49ers always wind up doing well, but they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think they've got a lot of room to grow. I really put them here because of who they lost. I know they had tons of draft capital, but they lost Jordan Mason, Deebo Samuel, both starting guards, Leonard Floyd, 3 defensive tackles, 2 starting linebackers, 2 starting cornerbacks, their starting safety, their punter, and their long snapper. I mean, that's a huge roster turnover. I know they still have Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, but is McCaffrey healthy or not? I don't really know. There's just way too many questions and too much difference for me to think that they're just going to just keep on rolling. Now, if Christian McCaffrey comes back and he's healthy and he's running like Christian McCaffrey, that's going to do a lot to help them out. Yeah. If George Kittle is George Kittle, that's great, but he's going to lose. He's going to miss like 3 or 4 games. He just always does. Ayuk is a stud. So, they got that stuff on offense, but I don't know that it's really going to just keep on continuing with all of the losses they had, especially on defense. I don't know if they're going to find themselves in the playoffs. I think probably the Rams win that division. If there's a wild card out of that division, it's probably going to be the 49ers, but a lot has to go right for them to make it into the playoffs. That's just my take.
That's a good take. Sean?
What are we going on to number 8?
No,
number 8.
Your 9, Sean?
My 9 was the sorry. Wait a minute. Do we not just do 9?
I started 9. I was trying to mix it up a little bit so that it wasn't so like.
Oh, sorry.
1, 2,
Okay.
3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Well, my 9 is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you did talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you did talk about Dallas.
Yeah. So, Sean,
I was going to say, I looked at it. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I just did the Cowboys.
Yeah, Sean. So started off with 8 here. Who do you got?
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling I know who you're about to say.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come.
I knew it.
Where do we put them boys on the lakefront? I'm going to put them in the playoff picture. We're going to cheers to our Bears because I'm putting them at number 8 because we got this guy cooking in the kitchen. We're going to be putting together one hell of a game plan. We got this guy walking in under center. I mean, the Bears are loaded. I love everything that they've done this offseason. As we've talked about for weeks, I know there's still holes. On the surface, if this team stays healthy, they will be competitive every single week. I think Caleb Williams is very smart, very, very smart quarterback. I think he will grasp this game plan. They will feed it to him, and he will continue to grow in it. The Bears will continue to grow around it. I think you're going to see on one kind of offense weeks 1 through 8, and you're going to see a different offense 8 on as they get acclimated into this team, into the offense, into what Ben Johnson's vision and plan is. I like the Bears here. I think that they can be a 9 to 10 win team. They need to have some things go right. Can't wait for the schedule to come out to see how they're going to get to this point. But right now, I got the Bears at number 8. I really like I like everything they've done. So I'm keeping my boys at number 8, just inside the playoffs. wild card. Here we come, boys. Let's go.
Yeah,
Kyle,
Sean, I might as well go next because I got the Chicago Bears at number 8 as well. And
all right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll go next. And I have the Packers next. I did a really deep dive. I'm going to read exactly what I wrote. Here's the thing, guys. Honestly, I didn't go to the Packers website because I didn't want to give them any hits or any type of revenue generation, even if it's just one click. I don't care. I wrote, and this is it, and I'm just going to stop. There won't be any more analysis after that. I hate the fucking Packers. I hope they suck. Don't care who they added. Don't care who they lost. I just want Jordan Love to throw more interceptions, and I pray every day they finish last in the league in every stat. And that's it.
There's a short for you, Sean. Yeah, Sean, I got the Bears at 8. I think this is going to be very similar to what was it, Sean? What year was it? Was it 2022 or 2023 that the Lions went 9-8 when you could start to kind of feel the Lions team come together a little bit?
It was 23.
They had a really good.
It was 22.
Yeah, they had a really good second half of that season. I think they ended up winning
Campbell's first year. Yeah.
Six of their last 8 games or something like that. They won. I think that's going to be the Bears this year. I think they're going to finish somewhere around 9-8, 10-7. I think we don't even have to talk about the offseason edition, guys. Everybody on this podcast knows who the Bears have drafted. They know who they addressed the interior of that offensive line. The key for the Chicago Bears is Ben Johnson and the marriage of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams can have a season we all think he's capable of having in his second season here, which is tough. It's a tall task because now he's learning a brand new system or a brand new coach. But if he can pick the scheme up quickly, and he can be the franchise quarterback we all expect him to be, I think the Bears near the end of the season, you talk about weeks 9, 10, 11, 12, they're a very dangerous football team that has a roster that's loaded with talent, barring any major injury.
Yeah, I'm right there. I want to have a good season. I mean, and guys, don't beat me up here in the chat, but I can also see this going the opposite way. But I'm going to keep my faith in Ben Johnson, in this immaculate coaching staff that they had, and the great talent that is actually on the squad, that they're going to get it right. Us as Bears fans are due a good season, do some good football, and I think we're going to get it this fall, ladies and gentlemen. So are we on to number 7?
We are.
We are, and my number 7 is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Niners obviously had some key departures this season. I think they lost about 17 players.
Yeah. Starters too, man. A lot of them starters.
Yeah, a lot of them starters, but I think, and I hate to say it, but I think if you really look at what they still have, it was more addition by subtraction, because you got rid of Deebo Samuel, who wasn't really happy there, but Juwan Jennings is really good. Ricky Pearsall is really good. You still have Brandon Ayuk. He's really good. And I know no one knows who Jacob Cowing is, but pay attention to that guy, because that guy is another dynamic weapon that they have. And, the other thing that people kind of don't pay any attention to, yes, because Christian McCaffrey is hurt. I'm a kind of a big fan of this late round pick, Jordan James, out of the backfield. I thought it was a disaster when they got rid of, when they made the trade Jordan Mason and sent him over to the Queens. But I do like Jordan James. I mean, he's 5'9". He's kind of a power back coming off a, almost 1,300-yard season. He had 15 rushing touchdowns last year for Oregon. He had 11 the year before. I really do like this kid. I think if there was something, he's 5'10", 210 pounds. I still think they can pull it together. You got to think. They had all these injuries. They missed all these pieces. They still managed to get 6 wins. They got 6 wins because they have a genius of a coach in Kyle Shanahan. I think they still have their quarterback, and we can all talk about this for days and days and days, but I still think Brock Purdy has got him to the Super Bowl. He's got him in the NFC Championship games. This guy is a good quarterback with a good coaching staff around him. They rebuilt their defense in this draft. I thought they had a really, really good draft as well. As we spoke about a couple of these other teams, it takes a couple of years. It takes a couple of years for these guys to come around. But I still think I just don't think the losses were going to destroy this team and not make them a competitive team. Especially if Mekhi Williams and Alfred Collins can come in and they can flip the script and be impact players right out of the draft, out of the football field. I also love that they got a steal in CJ West, another 3 technique in the middle of that defense. So they got Collins and West to rebuild the trench. Then they've got Williams to put on the edge. They still have some old talent there. And don't forget a Bears top 30 visit, Nick Martin, also drafted by them. So they knew they lost a lot on defense. They went into this draft. They addressed those needs. And again, it's the coaching staff. I trust this coaching staff. They still have the components, like I said, to compete. So I have the Niners at 7, back in the playoffs. And I do see a healthy Christian McCaffrey for at least some of the season. But again, remember Jordan James. Handcuff him if you guys take CMC, because Jordan James, go YouTube him. This guy's a beast. He's an absolute beast.
Don't do it. He's just saying that to throw me and Kyle off on fantasy football this year.
Yeah, Sean, I'm right there with you, man. We are lockstep right now. I got the 49ers at 7 as well. And I agree with mostly everything you just said. I actually could make an argument, you guys, that the 49ers got better because everybody keeps talking about all these players that they lost. You guys, these are the same players that were here when they had 19 players in IR. All these guys people are talking about were all injured constantly. It's good for the 49ers to inject some youth into this roster. I think that's exactly what they needed. I think the 49ers had one of the best off seasons of any team in the NFL. Get rid of Deebo Samuel. Keep trying to force him out of the field. He misses every other game. It's just getting old, right? He's playing with a bummed ankle, bummed shoulder, bummed wrist. He's just not the same guy he used to be. Sean, you talk about that defensive line. Like people are like, oh, they lost most of their defensive line. Yeah, they just went and drafted Michael Williams, Collins, and Martin and West, and they're adding him to Nick Bosa. You want to talk about a guy who could take some pressure off a couple of rookies? That guy could get the job done. Those guys are going to have really good seasons. Michael Williams is a guy to watch out for defensive player of the year, or defensive rookie of the year.
It's hard to lose both your guards, though, man. It's rough.
That's the only. I was going to say, Jason, took words out of my mouth. The only thing that sucked for the Niners is the offensive line was. That's the problem. Is the only good thing about that though is it's not like Brock Purdy's a rookie anymore, guys. This guy's a seasoned veteran. Right. He can make things happen in the backfield. He's also more athletic than people like to give him credit for. I actually think the 49ers, if anything, I think they're going to move up this list for me. I don't think there's any chance that they move down. Sean, you said it. That's Kyle Shanahan is an absolute coaching god. The guy is Moby Dick in a fishbowl. This guy he's one of the best coaches. He might go down as one of the best coaches in NFL history. As soon as he gets that Super Bowl, he's definitely going to be in the conversation. Oh, yeah. Robert Saleh
tend to draft really well.
Yeah, amazing draft. Sean, you talked Ricky Pearsall. I absolutely love that guy. I think he's going to be huge, absolutely huge for the 49ers. That's a guy you keep your eye on in fantasy for sure, no doubt about it. I like Juwan. When Juwan Jennings got to his chance last year, he just came in and had 3 touchdowns and 200 yards. I mean, it's not like these guys are scrubs. And then Jason, like you said, if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, he changes the entire dynamic of a football team. This guy is a once-in-a-lifetime player, first ballot Hall of Famer. Going to go down as one of the best running backs ever to play football in the history of the NFL. Robert Saleh is a much, much, much better defensive coordinator than he is head coach. That wasn't good for anybody in the NFL besides the 49ers that he ended up back in San Francisco. I think this team's going to surprise people. I think people have kind of already written 49ers off just based off of last year. But this team is better than people give him credit for. And Kyle Shanahan's going to have these guys ready to play day one, I promise.
Who you got there hanging around at number 7, Jason?
At number 7, I've got the beloved, the Chicago Bears. We've broken them down. I don't want to go on ad nauseum about them because everybody knows everything that has happened to the Bears, for the Bears, about the Bears, around the Bears, near the Bears. Mostly it's a homer decision for me to put them at 7, but I'm trying to temper my expectations here. Honestly, when I look at their schedule, their road schedule is brutal, might be the toughest one in like the NFL. We're still competing in maybe the toughest division in the NFL. The coaches in the NFC North, it's ridiculous. There's some very, very, very good coaches. So I don't know how they're going to do. I want them to do well. I think I can see 8 wins, but it's getting really hard for me the more and more I look into things and look into these teams to see us beating that Vegas 8.5 mark. So, if I get 8 wins out of them, I'm going to be very, very happy as long as Caleb looks like he looks, better. I would really like to see Caleb maybe hit that 4,000 mark this year. That would be maybe the biggest benchmark for me, to be honest with you. I'd like to see the offense and the team do better. I know they were in a lot of games late, but, the problem was they weren't into them early. And that seems to be sort of the calling card of the Bears the last, half a decade or so. So I'd like to see those things change. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. If they do, I'm going to be more excited than anybody there is. I would love to see the Bears win the playoff game, but if I'm being realistic here, I think for a new coaching staff, a new team, a new scheme, a new culture, a new everything, Caleb Williams is got a new offense to learn. He may be great, but he may still only throw for 3,500 yards. I don't know. That's why I put him at 7. I want to see them at 1, but I think 7 is probably fair.
Yeah, I think every Chicago Bears fan could agree that this season is going to come down. It's going to lean heavily on the shoulder of Caleb Williams, no doubt about it.
100%. 100%. Well, my number 6 is we're back in the NFC North, and I'm going to take the Queens from.
Jesus, Sean, did you look over my shoulder when we were taking this test?
Dude, I have him at 6 as well. That's crazy.
Well, I hate to say this, and God, I hate to say this. Kevin O'Connell's an amazing coach. And if you just take a look at what this team did this offseason.
That's the best offseason, Sean. It's the best offseason. Oh, my God.
They had a really good offseason.
Will Fries, Brian Kelly added to the offensive line. Your defensive front got Javon Hargrove and Jonathan Allen. You added Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers in your secondary. And then you went out and you killed it in the NFL draft. It's like
Sean, you liked their draft? I didn't really like the Vikings draft. Their free agency class was amazing, but their draft was suspect. I like Donovan Jackson. I like Donovan Jackson a lot. I think for them,
they addressed
great
addressed their offensive line again with Donovan Jackson, which I thought was very good for them. And then I guess outside of that, I guess they didn't really have.
Sean, Dane Brugler actually had them ranked last.
I was thinking Donovan Jackson. I actually thought they
had the best free agency.
Not in their draft. Yeah, they had a really good free agency. But again, they didn't need too much. Donovan Jackson is their best pick, obviously, a pick I wanted to see on the lakefront. And we don't know about J.J. McCarthy. We don't know about his health. We don't know what this guy's going to be or who he's going to be. So I was kind of hesitant to put the Queens at 6 because of that questionable quarterback situation. But
if the Queens have Josh Allen, they're at 2. That roster is insane.
Dude, if they had Josh Allen, they might be number 1. I mean, that's how good this team is.
It's insane.
If J.J. McCarthy can be anything. Like, watch out. That defense is going to crush people. It sucks to say, but when the Bears play these guys, I will expect a very low-scoring Bears victory. So,
I'll just follow you up, Sean, because I had the Vikings at 6. Well, and like I said, in terms of I shouldn't have said the best offseason. They had the best free agency class, not even close. I mean, to add Kelly, Fries, Hargrave, Allen, and then add Jackson in the first round of the NFL draft. Their offensive and defensive lines just became. I mean, they were already good. It's not like their offensive and defensive lines were terrible. But you go at those guys. I mean, this is one of the best offensive and defensive line combos in the NFL. It might be number 1. And on top of that, there is good news for Bears fans, though, guys. As good as the Vikings roster is, you talk about Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, it's absolutely amazing roster when you look at it on paper. It's inching up towards the Eagles as the best roster in the NFL. There's 2 good things working in the Bears' favor, though. A, we don't know how good the quarterback's going to be. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not a huge fan of J.J. McCarthy. I do not think that J.J. McCarthy is who the Vikings believe he is. But that's why you put him at 6, right? Because the roster is so amazing, but you just don't know what you're going to get at J.J. McCarthy. But the good news for Bears fans is, guys, the Vikings are kind of building this team backwards. So they had an amazing free agency class, but a lot of these guys are old. And then you go look at their draft, and it wasn't very good. So in 2 or 3 years, the talent that's taking over for all these guys when they're retiring or when they're moving on from their contracts, it's not that all the young talent on young contracts, it's to me is not that good. I really didn't like the Vikings draft at all. And like I said, you guys, Dane Brugler ranked them dead last, number 32 in the entire NFL, their draft class. But yeah, Sean, you talk about the roster right now for the next 2 or 3 years. It's going to be a very small window for the Vikings, like I just said. But for the next 2 or 3 years, man, that team is amazing. And then you throw on top of that the fact that their head coach is one Kevin O'Connell, who just got the best, one of the MVP almost type season out of Sam Darnold. That's some scary shit in the NFC North, guys, for sure. That sucks for the Bears that all these teams just so happen to be getting better at the same time as we do. But yeah, that's why I put them at 6. If JJ McCarthy is good, they're going to move up these rankings a lot. If JJ McCarthy sucks, they're going to move down a little bit. So that's why they're at 6 for me.
And you know what? You said it there, right there. I mean, honestly, everything on Minnesota's season, much like the Bears, everything is, basically hinging on Caleb Williams' performance. Everything in Minnesota is hinged on the quarterback. If he's good, they're going to be great. If he's not, it's a rookie quarterback that's not that great.
They'll still be competitive, but yeah, they'll
be competitive, but they're not going to be, monsters, right? Yeah. And again, this is going to be a good test. We're going to see how Sam Darnold does, and we're going to see how JJ McCarthy does, and we'll see the difference. Now, keep in mind, I know McCarthy's not a rookie, but he essentially is a rookie. He was injured all of last year. I don't know how many snaps he really got in practices, so we'll see how he does. But I will say this. They did add Jordan Mason, so, if you're going to help out a rookie quarterback, you're going to want to run the ball. They've got what's his nuts from Detroit, Aaron Jones. Their offense, you got J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, T.J. Hawkinson. It's definitely loaded with weapons, right?
And Jordan Mason's a good number 2.
Jordan Mason's a stud.
This team got a lot better, man. They might have the best interior offensive line in the NFL. I mean,
you want to know the truth,
scary.
Man. Jordan Mason is going to be a very effective change of pace back.
Sean, I would draft him above Aaron Jones because, well, no, I guess I shouldn't say it. I was going to say because the injury risk to Aaron Jones, but it's not like Jordan Mason's
check down Charlie.
Player. It's not like he's the healthiest player in the NFL. The one thing the Vikings have to worry about is that running back room's got a lot of injury.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what happens. But if you can say this about any team, if everything goes right, then Minnesota is going to be really good. But I see, and the reason why I have them here is because honestly, there's still things that could go wrong. And like you said, the other NFC teams have also gotten better, except for Green Bay. So Detroit is no slouch. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you guys, since we all have the Vikings at 6, I want to ask you guys a question. If JJ McCarthy is a really good quarterback, I'm not talking about great, I'm not talking about Hall of Fame, I'm not talking about generational, but if he's a really good quarterback in the NFL, if he's Tony Romo, do you guys think that the Vikings could supplant the Detroit Lions as the best team in the NFC North and win this division?
Yes.
They have a better roster.
The
Vikings might have the best roster in the NFL.
I don't know, man. Detroit's roster is really, really good, dude.
Them and the Eagles.
Their roster.
I love Detroit's roster. Detroit has an amazing roster, but you put Kevin O'Connell with this roster up against Dan Gamble and that roster, and you're say JJ McCarthy is Jared Goff. Say he's the exact same player as Jared Goff, the same statistics, same type of quarterback.
He's the same player as Jared Goff. The Vikings might be the best team in this division.
Do they win the division? You think they win the division? I mean, you guys look at the record the last 2 years without a Jared Goff type quarterback. With
Sam
Darnold,
wins they have in the last couple of years.
I'm not talking about playoff. I'm talking about
the best roster in the league,
winning the division in the regular season. Do you think that they could do that if JJ McCarthy's good?
It's possible, but I think Detroit is still too well rounded and firing on all cylinders. There's too many questions left with Minnesota to say, look. I can only go off of what I know of J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is not a passing quarterback. They won the national championship. The guy threw the ball like 6 times or whatever the hell it was. I think they're going to hand the ball off, which is why you get Jordan Mason and you already have Aaron Jones. I think they know what they have. They have a guy who's going to game manage. He's going to dump off. He's not going to be throwing 60-yard bombs to Justin Jefferson all day long. If I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm really not all that excited about J.J. McCarthy. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the kid winds up being a stud. He's tall. He can, I'm assuming he can throw. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been drafted. But, we'll see what happens. They got a lot of questions still to answer, and we'll know by week 6 or not if Minnesota is going to be good or not. We'll also know if the coach is as good as we all think he is. But again, you got to win a playoff game, dude. If you want to be a really good coach, you got to win a playoff game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason. I'm just like, man, you had people. Here Dante says Dallas Turner. You had Dallas Turner to Javon Hargrave to Jonathan Hale. I think it was Dante earlier who said you got to run the ball in this Minnesota team. That's tough. That's tough to ask, man. You better be able to pass on the Minnesota Vikings because finding running room on them is going to be rough.
Really quick, before we enter the top 5 here, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat: T, Flex Diggs, Dante, Bears fan for life, Bruce, of course, Illinois Jones. You guys are great, man. If I forgot you, we'll get you at the end, but please keep your comments coming. We love to hear from you. You guys are the stars of the show, so keep bringing it. You guys are gonna help us.
Guys, stay tuned because if Sean takes my number 5, I'm driving over to his house and kicking him in the nuts.
I don't think I'm gonna take your number 5, although I will tell you this. It seems as though we all have the same top 5. We'll see what order they're in. But my number 5 is probably one of my other favorite NFC teams.
Damn it, Sean!
In the league.
God damn it, Sean!
And this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh,
I'm like,
all
right, guys, I'm on my way to Sean's house.
the Bucs have been a playoff team, and after Brady left, everyone was like, this team's going to be a team in transition, and Baker Mayfield said, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to live up to my draft potential. I'm going to show you guys what I got. I love Baker Mayfield. He is one of my top 5 favorite players in the entire freaking league. I absolutely love this dude so gosh darn much. You have Mike Evans. You have Chris Godwin. I love that they drafted Emeka Egbuka. They still have Jalen McMillan. We watched Bucky Irvin become a rising star during the season last year. They added Hassan Reddick to the defensive side of the ball. Vita Vea is an absolute beast in the center of that line. And you got my boy, who I wanted on the Bears, and I talked to Kyle about this guy ad nauseum the year he was getting drafted, was Kalijah Kancey. This guy's another beast in the center of that line. They did bring back the veteran Levante David, 35-year-old, longtime Buccaneer. I love this team. I'm wishing for the success of Baker Mayfield. I am a personal fan of Bucky Irving as well. So let's go. Let's just keep the Bucs in the top 5. And I agree with whoever said this earlier. I think it was Broski Bear. I agree. I think they run away with this division this season 110%. What's going on, Trax? Thanks for checking in, buddy. Who you got at 5, boys?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, you guys out there play fantasy football, get as many Buccaneers as you possibly can because this offense is going to be ridiculous. I mean, you added not a chance in hell did I think that the Buccaneers were going wide receiver in the first round. I mean, you talk about
me either.
McMillan, you talk about Godwin, and you talk about Mike Evans, and you're going to add to that with Egbuka. I mean, if these guys could sustain 3 injuries and still be one of the best passing teams in the NFL, and then by the way, Rashad White's one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, and Bucky Irving can catch the ball too. Man, there's no doubt in my mind if you're looking for a quarterback around 7, 8, 9 in the fantasy football draft, if Baker Mayfield's still there, throw him on your team because this guy's going to be an absolute beast this year. Sean, I also love Baker Mayfield. I love his attitude. I love the fact that the NFL kind of tried to chew him up and spit him out. Nobody really gave him a chance. And here he is being just balling out every single day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the team as a whole. The only thing I wish the Buccaneers would have done is I wish they would have addressed a little bit more on the defensive end. I know they got Benjamin Morrison on Notre Dame. I know they got Jacob Parrish out of K-State, but that secondary was definitely their handicap last year. That's definitely where they were the weakest. I wish they would have done more to address it, but man, I have the Buccaneers at 5 because I think they're going to win 10, 11, 12 games, and they're going to be in the playoffs, no doubt about it. And I think this is a team this year, after being the last couple of years, this is a team that I think could make a very deep playoff run. This is another team that has a very, very good roster, underrated. And the Buccaneers were already good to begin with. You go and add Egbuka to that receiver room, this is a different game. I think this team is, if you talked about this team last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you'd say, I think they're probably a year behind. They probably have one more year to make it to the playoffs and get knocked out, kind of like the Houston Texans have been for the last couple of years. They've had that playoff experience the last 2 years now. I think it's time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to take that next leap and win a couple playoff games. And I think I could see them in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I got Tampa Bay a little bit higher. I'll talk about them in a minute. I actually am a big fan of Tampa Bay this year for obvious reasons. You guys pretty much touched on most of them. But
very good team.
My number 5 team, believe it or not, is the Washington Commanders. Now, I know they have a fairly potent offense. I think they were like 7 in yardage and like 6th in touchdowns, overall. That's league-wise, not just the NFC. Like I said before, I foresee a sophomore slump coming for Jaden Daniels. We talked about this. We've talked about it several times, Kyle. You're right. He hasn't had adversity like Caleb Williams has. Caleb Williams has actually, I think, gone through the adversity and now is on the other side. Yeah. I think Jaden Daniels, they got dog walked in the playoffs. It wasn't even close. They got mollywopped. That's a loss that may stick with that kid for a long time. I will tell you this too. They lost Dexter Fowler. And here, I got their losses up right now. They lost Dante Fowler Jr. They lost Jonathan Allen, who we were just talking about on the Vikings. They lost a starting cornerback, their starting safety. Their defense wasn't that great to begin with as it is, and now they've lost some of their best talent. And if you look at their depth chart, it's on offense, it's gotten a little bit better. They drafted Josh Connolly Jr., which is a great draft pick. I wish the Bears would have drafted him. But, I'm not really all that. They only had like 4 or 5 picks. They didn't do that well in the draft, to be perfectly honest with you. And if you give him a slump, man, that team may not be as good. I literally think Philly wrote the manual on how to beat Washington, and everybody's going to follow it. That's ultimately why I have them down so low. I know a lot of people think of them as maybe like a top 3 or 4 team here in the NFC, but they're still a top 5 team for me, just not as good as last year. Oh, and Deebo Samuels? Yeah, they picked up Deebo, but dude, from what I'm hearing, Deebo is like kind of lost it. I don't think he has the it factor anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, do you want to go to number 4? Do you want me to? Because my number 4 is the Commanders, so I can just pile on what Jason's saying.
Yeah, go ahead, because that's not my number 4.
Yeah, Jason, I agree with you. The Commanders are a good team. I do think that Jaden Daniels is maybe not a step back, but probably around the same season he had last year. So not making that sophomore leap that I believe Caleb Williams is going to, because like you said, Jason, there just wasn't that much adversity for the Commanders last year. They didn't really suffer any huge injuries. Caleb Williams, you talk about adversity. He had more adversity than any rookie quarterback in the history. The guy had 3 head coaches in the worst offensive line in NFL. He got sacked 68 times. But yeah, back to the Commanders. I think the Commanders are a very good team. The Deebo Samuel signing is probably really good for them. I think he probably is better suited now in the Commanders than he is the 49ers. I think the 49ers want to give these young guys more playing time, guys like Richard Pearsall. Deebo Samuel is going to be their number 2 receiver there. But Larry Tunsil, great signing for them. You talk about a guy who can protect the quarterback, blind side. That's a great decision for them to bring him. I don't understand why the Texans got rid of him when they have such a young quarterback, CJ Stroud. That was a really dumb move by them. But Josh Connolly and Trey Amos is where I think the Commanders screwed up, Jason. You talk about, you just added one of the best tackles in the NFL in Larry Tunsil, and then you draft Josh Connolly and then Trey Amos with your second pick as a cornerback. You guys, they allowed 7 rushing touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. 7 rushing touchdowns. And what did they do? They lost Jonathan Allen. Why would the Commanders' number 1 need going into the offseason not be defensive tackle? Why didn't they add 5 defensive tackles, 2 in the free agency, 3 in the draft, or vice versa? This is a team that's going to get run on. People are going to run the ball on the Washington Commanders. There's no doubt about it. No doubt in my mind. They're going to hemorrhage rushing yards as a defense. And that's why I have them at 4. I think the offense is capable of putting them in the top 3, but I don't think the defense is. I think they improved their secondary, and their run defense got worse. I just don't. I like their offseason. I think Josh Connolly is a very good pick, and he's going to be a very good tackle in the NFL. But that's not what they needed. So it was a very confusing pick for me. When Washington was there at the end of the first round, I'm like, they're going to take the best defensive tackle available. And when they decided when they announced Josh Connolly, I was just kind of dumbfounded. I didn't understand. It didn't make sense for me for the Commanders. I liked the pick, just not for the Commanders.
Well, boys,
everything you said.
I can piggyback off of you guys because I have Washington here as well. I don't know that I'm gonna personally say I think Jaden Daniels is going to take a big step back. I think there's enough there. I believed in his talent since he was at LSU, and I think he was everything I thought he was going to be last year, and I still think he's going to be that this year. I can't wait for Caleb Williams to get his crack at him, and I'll be perfectly honest. If you want to open the season right, I would put Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels week 1 in Washington. Let's go. Let's the Bears get their revenge on Washington. But I do think this Washington team is still pretty solid. I know they have some defensive woes, but again, I think there's enough for them to win during the season. Come playoff time, that's when those defensive problems are really going to show. Probably against the Philadelphia Eagles, teams with good running backs. Can they outscore them? So on and so forth. So I still like the team. I do have some questions if the offense that is run by Cliff Kingsbury is going to be able to replicate itself. But
what she's never done, Sean. That's why I see the slump is the fact that Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have never been able to replicate what they did the season before in their careers. Either of them.
The thing though for me is I don't think they've had a Jaden Daniels, and I think the guy is uber talented and without an injury.
I mean, they had a Matt Ryan.
I think they're going to be fine. That's just me, but I mean, we all have them ranked at number 4, so our expectations are about the same.
Yeah, if the commander, it's good for the Bears, but if the Commanders would address that defensive line, that's a force
not
to be
losing
reckoned
Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, and then replace them. Replace them. What are they? That's arrogance to me. Like if you lose one of your best players and one of the best run stoppers in the NFL, just to be like, well, we're so good, we don't need to replace them. That's when you start getting yourself in trouble. Yeah.
Chris is having flashbacks of last January right now, and he's hoping Jaden Daniels falls off the bus for week 1.
You guys, am I overreacting? If you lost an NFC Championship game by allowing a record 7 rushing touchdowns in the game, wouldn't you go in the offseason and be like, well, we can't let that shit happen again? That was embarrassing.
Listen, they wrote the book on how to beat Washington. You think teams aren't going to pick up on that? It's not like they scored 3 touchdowns and they won 7 rushing touchdowns.
7 rush. You don't even have to pass the ball. You don't have to pass the ball. Just give it to Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. All the Bears have to do is run DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams, and they're going to rush for 7 touchdowns against the Commanders.
That's my point. It's that dog walking. All right, so I guess I'm up at 6, right?
No, number 3. It's number 3.
It's 4. I'm sorry.
No, number 4 was Washington.
I haven't done 4.
Number 4 was Washington for us.
Yeah. So my number 4 is the Rams.
I thought you had them I thought you had Washington at 4 too. Where'd you have? Oh, you had them at 5?
Yeah, I had them at 5.
Oh, okay. I thought we all had them at 4.
Sorry. No, I did Washington 4 first. Yeah, Jason's still up.
Yeah, so I got the Rams here at 4. And listen, I think the biggest ad probably for a team in free agency this year, besides maybe the Bears' offensive line, might be the addition of Davante Adams to pair with Puka for, arguably one of the best quarterback arms we've probably seen in maybe 10, 15 years. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree as well.
I know they lost Kupp and Jonah Jackson. I don't think Kupp hurts them that much, especially now that you've added Davante Adams. I think Jonah Jackson was a loss for them, but he was kind of moved around the line anyway, so I don't know how big of a loss that's really going to be for the Rams as it is. They drafted Terrence Ferguson, who's a very good tight end as well.
That pick. Love that
dude, if you look at their offense right now, you've got Stafford, Kyron Williams, you got Blake Corum, if he could be healthy, might be actually a stud. They drafted Jarquez Hunter too, who I actually liked. I think he's a decent running back. You got Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, you got Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee. I mean, they've got weapons on there, and you've got an offensive genius as your head coach. So I don't know how their defense is really going to pan out this year, but I'll tell you what, their offense is going to score a lot of points. I think Davante Adams and Matthew Stafford are going to get along just fine. And that's why I got them so high. Normally, I probably wouldn't because they did lose some talent and they didn't draft a whole lot. But, man, dude, I'm telling you right now, Davante Adams and Matthew Stafford, if you could pair those two guys up on your fantasy team, you're going to be pretty happy.
Well, I'll piggyback off of Jay. I have the Rams at number 3. I love this team. I love this team a lot. I really, really do. They had a couple problems. They obviously had the defensive rookie of the year in Jared Verse. Brandon Fisk was
runner up,
amazing.
runner up defensive player of the year.
And what did they do? They went and signed Poona Ford to a 3-year, $27 million contract. Oh yeah, their secondary wasn't up to par. So what did they do? They drafted Nick Eamon-Worry. They have Sean McVay at the head of this. And if I'm going to piggyback, I did my top 10, my classified fantasy football top 10 rookies. My number 10 was Jarquez Hunter. I love this kid. I love this kid in this offense. There is so much that people don't realize about Kyren Williams that when we do our fantasy show, I'm going to drop this on you. Kyren Williams is a good running back in the NFL. He is by far, when you look at the analytics, not even close to the best. I know he's on the field. He produces in fantasy football, and our fantasy football nerds, this guy's great. This guy's great. I'm going to tell you this right now. When Hunter gets on this field and they see his burst through that line, they see how he can get to the outside faster. It's going to be very hard to keep this guy off the field. Very weary of Kyren Williams. I think he's going to get some love this year. I'm not saying he's just going to disappear into thin air. But watch out for Hunter, especially when it comes to fantasy. This guy is a stud. I love this Rams team. They're coming off 10 wins. I can see them around 10, 11, 12 again. And if you guys remember, they went toe-to-toe with the Lions. I think it was a 2017 final. They went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the NFL. They have all the makeup, and I think they got better this offseason than they were last year. And let's not forget, we got Matthew Stafford back for another year. So give me the Rams at number 3, and we'll go from there. Kyle, what you got?
Sure, I'm right there with you. The Rams are my number 3. I think we're pretty much going to be the same for the rest of the way here. But yeah, I mean, like Jason said, one of the picks I loved in this draft was Terrence Ferguson. It's the Rams draft traded back out of the first round. I think Terrence Ferguson was one of the best offensive players available in that spot. I think he's going to be huge for the Rams. They were missing their tight end Higbee all year last year with that injury. Ferguson is going to open up the middle of the field for Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. He's a big dude, a big target. He was great at Oregon. Then you add Josiah Stewart, the Michigan linebacker, and then you add Jarquez Hunter, another weapon in the running back room. And on top of that, they added Ty Hamilton from Ohio State, the defensive tackle, to pair with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. This Rams team got a lot better. And I didn't even mention Devontae Adams yet. And I think Devontae Adams is actually better for the Rams than Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is probably their skill sets I think their careers are pretty similar. But right now, Devontae Adams, he just doesn't have those health issues that Cooper Kupp has. Cooper Kupp is the reason. Missing Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua is the reason the Rams haven't been better in recent years, is because it seems like every single game one of those guys is missing, and they relied so heavily on those guys. But now you add to that backfield with Kyren Williams, and you go get a legitimate tight end, Terrence Ferguson, who's probably going to take a few years to come along, but Tyler Higbee can certainly fill the role until he does. Yeah, this Rams offense is going to be dangerous, and the defense got better. This is
they did draft. Not a Mumpfield in the 7th round.
And on top of all that, guys, they have one of the best coaches in the NFL in Sean McVay, and one of the most seasoned vets at quarterback in Matthew Stafford. This is a team that this is the year of the Rams. I think this is going to be Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay's last real chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Who's your 3?
My number 3 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I might have been a little bit higher than you guys on these Bucks, but I love them. They really didn't lose a whole lot. What's that?
I love them.
All right. Well, I think they pretty much have the same roster. We talked about it before. You add in Emeka Egbuka and Tez Johnson, my other favorite wide receiver in the draft. They signed Hassan Reddick. We'll see what happens with him on defense, if he actually can produce like he has in the past. If he does, that's just going to make them even better. All their really draft picks were really on defense, on the defensive side of the ball. If the D is better, I don't see the offense getting any worse. I see it getting better as well. I know Liam Cohen is gone, but they still have a very good offense. And if you really track, what's his nuts? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here. The quarterback.
Mayfield?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield. He does well wherever he goes. I mean, he had a nice little stint. What was it, in Indianapolis or at the Los Angeles, wherever it was. but he's had some good stints. He's a good quarterback. He knows what he's doing. He was a first overall pick, no? So, I mean, listen, I think in that division, it is all theirs. I don't see anybody else taking it from them. I think they walk away with the division, and don't be surprised if they win a playoff game this year. And I'd love to see them unseat the Lions, just because I don't want to see the Lions win. But that to me would be a pretty good matchup there. Tampa Bay Lions, maybe second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, before we get to 2-1, because I'm pretty sure they're all going to be exactly the same. But I love this playoff picture we've created for the NFC. I love the Rams. I love the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Lions, and I know they're in our division, guys, but they were just so bad for so long. I started to feel bad for them. The Washington Commanders, I'm always going to have kind of a little bit of just something against them, because people are always going to compare Jaden Daniels to Caleb Williams, but I like the Commanders in the playoffs. The only team I'd like to see out of this playoff picture is the Minnesota Vikings. Besides that, I love this playoff picture. You got the Niners, the Bears, the Buccaneers, the Commanders, the Rams. This is going to be entertaining. 20-25 in the NFC is going to get real interesting real quick, guys.
I agree.
Yeah. If we move on to number 2, 2-1, I don't really know that there's a lot of mystery here, but the Detroit Lions at number 2.
Sean, if you guys want real quick, Sean, if you want to get into these projections for off the rookie, all that, let's not. We pretty much have all this the same 1 and 2. So
it's Lions and Eagles. That's my 2 is Lions, 1 is Eagles.
I was just going to say for the Lions, despite the coaching changes, they retained a powerful offense, a solid defense. They get the return of Aiden Hutchinson. This remains one of the best rosters, one of the best teams in the NFC. The one thing I do want to point out to everybody is things were very friendly for Detroit last year. You know, this year they have the third toughest schedule in the league. Last year they were 9-0 versus non-playoff teams. They played 9 non-playoff teams. They're not going to do that. They were 6-2 versus playoff teams, 75% win percentage. They were 7-2 in one-score games, 78% win percentage. But what was the one thing they didn't do last year? They didn't play outdoors. They played 3 games outdoors against Green Bay, Chicago, and San Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, they're outdoor games this year. And this is a gauntlet, my friends. The Bears, the team up north, whose name I don't say, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. I do like this team. I see a couple of more losses tacked on. I don't see 15-2. I could see them, 3, 4 or 5 losses maybe. And it's a very, very outdoor, tough road schedule that they have to face this year. But I will say this, for all intents and purposes, I still do see the Detroit Lions playing in the NFC Championship game if that roster can stay healthy. I still like them. I know we just talked about the Minnesota Vikings and J.J. McCarthy, and I'll put the caveat: if J.J. McCarthy comes to be all that in a box of cookies, then we'll have a different conversation. But on paper, as it is right now, I think the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles are still the 2 best teams in the NFC, and I expect to see them at this moment playing again in the NFC Championship. Well, I guess Detroit didn't make it to the NFC Championship, but they'll correct they're wrong, and Detroit will make it to the NFC Championship game this year.
Yeah, the Lions are still a force to be reckoned with. I do think you're going to see a little bit of some bumps in the road with the coaching changes, guys. These guys either have to learn new terminology or they have to learn a new scheme. Either one is going to hurt them a little bit. I agree with you, Sean. I think this is more of a 4 or 5 loss team than a 2 or 3 loss team like they've been. But you talk about the best signing in the entire offseason. DJ Reed from the Jets, that cornerback. I mean, I think they got him for $47 million, and the Packers paid Hobbs $60 million for the same duration. I mean, what an absolute steal for the Lions. I think the only reason Reed took that such a low pay was because he thinks he's going to win a Super Bowl there. And, you add Tyreek Williams, that defensive line with Aiden Hutchinson coming back healthy. And then you put in Tate Ratledge and Miles Frazier, the two offensive linemen they added in the draft, who are probably right now going to be there for depth, but probably the starters of the future. Oh, yeah. And then Isaac Tesla replaces Tim Patrick. I mean, the Lions got better for sure. There's no doubt about it. The only thing that scares me about Yeah, the only thing that scares me about the Lions is that those coaching changes, and people don't understand how important coaching is in the NFL. It's more important than any other American sport, no doubt about it. I think the Lions are going to be a good team, but like you said, Sean, it's a much tougher schedule this year. They have to play outdoors. We know Goff does not play as well outdoors as he does indoors. I think this team's going to have 4 or 5 losses, but I still think the Lions are going to be in the NFC Championship game, and I still think they have a strong chance to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, obviously I've got them at 2 as well. It seems to be a little bit for me kind of it seems weird for me because for some reason they just can't get their secondary right. Their defensive line is going to be better. They're going to have Aiden Hutchinson back. Their defense should be fine, but they let go of like 4 cornerbacks. And they weren't all
your record.
What's that?
Sorry, Jay.
No, I don't know. Their roster is going to be the same essentially. They lost Kevin Zeitler, who is a guy that I was actually kind of hoping the Bears might have picked up in the offseason, but we got Dahlman instead, so I'm fine with that. But their roster is essentially the same. Their draft is okay. Their first 3 picks are decent. Tesla, he figures in to be a slot receiver. I do like Tate Ratledge and Tyler Williams, but you're right that the coaching staff is a big change. There's going to be a learning curve there. They might have a slow start to the season, and that might be where you find those extra, 2 losses, maybe 13 wins this year instead of 15 or maybe 12, which still handily could win them the division this year because let's face it, if they have a tough schedule, so do the Bears, so do the Vikings, and so do the Green Bay Packers. So I don't think it's going to be an easy ride in the NFC North this year. But hands down, I really don't envision anybody but maybe Minnesota, if everything goes perfect, winning this division other than the Lions.
Yeah, and remember, you guys, the Lions now have Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, and Brian Branch in their secondary. This might be the year they get it right. We'll secondary. It's a really good secondary.
Crystal has them at 15-2. T, our other Lions brethren, has 13-4, 12-5. I do feel like that's a little bit more realistic. I think 15-2 is going to be really, really tough, especially with that slate of outdoor games that are going to be. I mean, if you look
it's not just outdoors, the opponents are tough as well.
I was going to say, it's not only outdoors, but those are the upper echelon teams of the entire NFL.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that innovative creativity that you had with Ben Johnson. You're not. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that I know anything about their new offensive coordinator. He might be good, but it's not going to start like that. It's not going to happen at the snap of a finger. Jared Goff is probably going to take a step back this season, guys. And I'm not saying he's going to have a bad season, but I don't think he could throw 6 picks in the game this season and then still win the game. This is not going to happen. If a brand new coaching staff, you cannot make those mistakes. There's going to be a smaller margin of error for the Detroit Lions. They're still a really good team, and like I said, guys, I still think there's a chance they make it to the Super Bowl. I just don't think they're going to be as good as in the regular season. Yeah.
And here, we'll just wrap this up. The reason why they're not number 1 is because the defending Super Bowl champions, I think they got better. I think they're elite at every position.
They got better.
They got better. That's what I'm saying.
Better.
Like this team is the team to beat, I think, in the entire NFL until you can figure out a way to master that defense or get past that defense. When they want to turn it up a notch, man, they can shut you down. The Eagles are good offensively. They're good defensively. They got good coaching. They got everything that you freaking need to be an elite football team. So that's why they're my number 1. I don't need to say much. I don't need to talk about Barkley or Hurts or Carter or any of these guys. We know who they are. They're the defending goddamn Super Bowl champions. Eagles are number 1 in the NFC Power Rankings until someone knocks them off that mountain for me.
Yeah, that's the same for me, guys. I'm not going to go in depth here. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, which means they were the best team in the NFL, and they went in the offseason and added Jahad Campbell, Andrew Makuba, and Ty Robinson. So the rich certainly got richer, no doubt about it. And why is it every year, guys, that we have a guy in the top 10, 12 of the NFL draft, a guy like Jahad Campbell? Why does that guy always fall to the Eagles? I'm not going to say any players' names next year because if I do, they're going to fall to the Eagles.
Flexlip says the Eagles drafted the trenches like I thought the Bears would.
They didn't really draft. I mean, they took 1 defensive tackle. It was
awesome
linebacker,
power
safety.
rankings. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, Jahad Campbell is their big pick for them. I mean, that's a great pick. Andrew Makuba, Ty Robinson. They had a lot of draft picks, dude. And listen, there's going to be guys that you don't know that the Philadelphia Eagles draft, and they're going to wind up being studs because they know how to identify talent. If you're a GM in the NFL, you need to just do whatever Philadelphia is doing. I would hire somebody to go get hired by Philadelphia and steal all their notes on their scouting team, because they just seem to always get it right.
I was going to say, I think we can also safely say that Howie Roseman is a genius.
You guys, I would not be upset at all. I would not have been upset at all if they took the Super Bowl MVP trophy last year and handed it to Howie Roseman and said, "You are the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah,
You're the guy." I would have been like, "That's fitting." That's the
The Eagles are in good shape
with the losses that they had on defense, and they still somehow are just as good on defense. It's insane to me.
It took them 3 weeks to get those rookie corners and up to speed. It took them 3 weeks. I'm like, yeah, but DeJeans and Mitchell they're going to struggle. They're rookies. It's going to take them a while to come along. But then they got Vic Fangio, and I'm like, well, never mind. It's going to take them 3 days.
I'll give you guys another fantasy tidbit before we move on to our picks, our early season awards. Guys, handcuff Saquon Barkley. There's a good chance. I'm not saying he's going to get hurt, but anytime you dig a football field, there's a chance that you can get hurt. Will Shipley is a beast. He was amazing at Clemson, and that kid is going to be awesome in the NFL. He's a Swiss Army knife. I expect him to be used in the Eagles' offense a little bit more. But if anything happens to Barkley, he might be a fantasy winner, guys.
You guys handcuff every running back you try.
Yeah, that's no doubt.
But in recent years, the injuries are getting absolutely, especially it all started with COVID when you were missing a player every week because of COVID. And recent years, the injuries are getting ridiculous. I would handcuff at least your top 2 running backs for sure, no doubt about it. All right, guys, let's get into these.
Yeah, let's buzz through these.
Yeah, way too early. 2025 NFL awards. Do you guys want to go one at a time, or do you want to just everybody do yours? We can start with MVP. I'll start. My MVP this season, guys, and I'm not going to get into too many detail here because this show's getting a little long here. But my MVP, and I think it's going to be. I think this is one I'm going to put money on, no doubt about it. I think it's going to be Joe Burrow from the Cincinnati Bengals. This guy asked for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to get paid. This team went out of their way to make sure these guys got paid, make sure they're here. He had a borderline MVP season last year. If this team wasn't so bad last year record-wise, he would have been the MVP. If they can get a couple more wins on their schedule this season, he is going to be the MVP in 2025.
I agree. I got Joe Burrow too. I mean, he's finally fully healthy. He has weapons at every level of the offense, like Chase, Higgins, Brown, Yoshivas, Gesicki. I mean, the guy threw for almost 5,000 yards last year and really kind of did it without people noticing, unless you were playing like fantasy football, because the record just didn't.
He lost 2 games in which he scored 45 points.
Dude, he is definitely my pick. I mean, if he has any type of season like he did last year, that guy's gonna. I mean, his wide receiver won the Triple Crown, so
market.
Well, I had where I'm gonna go, because he's my boy, he's my guy, best player in the NFL. Hands down, does more with less than anybody else in the freaking league. Kyle, you want to say it for me?
Josh Allen.
You goddamn straight. Josh freaking Allen, dude.
He repeats?
I wasn't going to take him because it's really hard to repeat the MVP award. But you know what? I would have went Joe Burrow. I just want to be different than you guys a little bit. but I was actually going to go Joe Burrow. But then you guys both did it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's go back to Josh freaking Allen, because he's Josh freaking Allen.
Sean, there's a good chance that Josh Allen finishes with better stats than Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow still wins the MVP because the NFL doesn't like to repeat.
Very possible.
It all depends on how far the team goes and how well the team does. I think if Cincinnati was deep into the playoffs, he probably would have wound up winning. But we'll see.
It's only the NFC. We're going to do the AFC probably next week, Lindsay. We're going to put the Chiefs. We'll put the Chiefs on top. I'm pretty sure. At least it's not on top. Really close.
They're going to be up there.
Since we started with MVP, my offensive player of the year is going to just play right into this role here. I have Jamar Chase as the offensive player of the year in 2025. I think with the season Joe Burrow has, Jamar Chase is going to be on the receiving end, a lot of those yards and a lot of those touchdowns. I think there's a chance this guy could actually catch 2,000 yards receiving this year, and I think he's going to end up being the offensive player in the NFL of 2020-2025. Jason?
My offensive player of the year pick is going to be Derrick Henry. And honestly, if Saquon Barkley didn't win it, I think Derrick Henry probably would have won it last year. What he had, like 16 or 17 touchdowns.
Yeah, but he was actually like 5th in the voting, which surprised me. I thought he would have been like 2nd. He was like 5th.
Yeah, I think he's going to have another really, really good year. I don't know. I mean, it could be anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if Saquon Barkley won it again, dude. I really don't see as long as he stays healthy. he could easily. Now they might say, hey, you know what? We are going to have you break that single season rushing record. We are going to have you break all these other records because he was so unselfish last year. But I don't know. Derrick Henry, he's just a stud. The guy averages at least a touchdown every game. It's impossible for him not to. He's just a monster, and I don't see him getting any worse because I don't think the guy's ever been hurt.
That'd be cool for him because since he's probably pretty close down his way out here, so it'd be cool to see him win something like that. Sean?
Where my Lions fans at? Where they at? In the chat.
Oh, Sean's got the same one as Brandon.
1,412 yards, 517 receiving yards, 20 touchdowns, 1,929 yards from scrimmage. I'm going with Mr. Gibbs from the Motor City as my offensive player of the year.
That's a good pick. He was my number 2. And you know what's funny, you guys? I swear to God, my number 3 was Derrick Henry. So, and you know what? I think Saquon Barkley should probably.
Was my number 3 as
Saquon Barkley should probably be in there. I just don't like seeing the same guys win the same.
Yeah, and you know what? Gibbs is a good pick because you might see them lean on the run a little bit more. They've got a great running game and a great offensive line. Yeah. That's an easy way to install a new offense and get everybody confident and going on their offense.
Jason, that was part of my thinking. Like this new rookie offensive coordinator, if I were him, I'd run the ball as early and often as I possibly can until you try to figure out your playbook and how you're going to use Jared Goff. All right, let's move on to defense player of the year. I don't want to start because I feel like I'm going to end up taking some.
I'll start.
So, Jason, go ahead.
No one's taking mine. I can tell you that.
I actually picked Micah Parsons, and I was actually going to be I was in between a couple of guys, but Micah Parsons, and I'll be honest with you here, I think Ezeraku, the addition of Ezeraku on the other side of that defensive line is going to make Micah Parsons that much better because he's not going to draw as many double teams. You could say probably, 2 or 3 other guys, but I think Micah Parsons is due for a really big year. And honestly, I don't like Eberflus, but he is a very good defensive coordinator. So don't be surprised if Micah Parsons has a really good year this year.
Sean?
I'll tell you this. I love this guy. Kyle, I wanted the Bears to trade up for this guy. His statistics, first year, 7 sacks. Last year, 11. Tackles for loss, 10, 16. He's coming into his 3rd year. 22 quarterback hits, 19 to follow that up, 41 in 2 years. 18 sacks in 2 years, 82 tackles in two years. This guy is an absolute beast. My defensive player of the year is none other than Will Anderson Jr. Love this kid. I think he's about to have a monster year for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and he's got the help of Daniil Hunter there, so he should be freed up quite a bit. Yeah, you guys mind? This is a very, very close one for me. It was a toss-up between TJ
Here, really
Watt
quick, Kyle, before you say that, Jay, I flipped the coin between Will Anderson and Micah Parsons. I really did.
I would have said, no doubt about it, I would have said Myles Garrett. He is the best defensive player in the NFL, hands down, no doubt about it. And he's now going to have Mason Graham taking some attention away from him. I think Myles Garrett's going to have an absolutely huge year. The problem is Myles Garrett's about to play in a shitty team with a shitty record. And usually those guys don't get recognized for these types of awards. So my defensive player of the year, I think ultimately the Steelers are going to sign Aaron Rodgers. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think he's going to continue a stretch of having 16 500 winning seasons in a row for Mike Tomlin there. And I think TJ Watt is going to end up being the defensive player of the year this year. They added Derek Harmon and Jack Sawyer to that defensive line. TJ Watt's going to get a lot more, a lot less double teams, I should say. And I think ultimately TJ Watt's going to end up being
I'm going to send you guys a picture. I'm going to send you guys a picture because I have Will Anderson, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt. That was my 1, 2, 3.
And I hope Myles Garrett was in that conversation. That guy's
Myles Garrett for me. Here, listen. Myles Garrett for me is the obvious one, so I went away from Myles Garrett. Everyone, I think
Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett probably would have been everybody's pick, but that team's going to suck. They're going to be awful, awful.
What's the next one we got?
Comeback player of the year, boys.
Oh,
should we all say it? Should we all say it at the same time?
I'm going to say
my Lions fans at?
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, the guy was leading the team in sacks, and I think even the league in sacks before he got hurt. And you watch his videos now, he's running. It doesn't look like there's any problems with that leg whatsoever. I know he's a big boy, so there's probably a little bit of a longer road to recovery there with the weight. But, I mean, he's Aiden Hutchinson, dude. I don't know what else you can really say. The guy's a monster. I'm really pissed off they drafted him, and I'm really pissed off he's so good.
Yeah, I was pissed off the day they drafted him.
I'm sure you had Aiden Hutchinson. I'm just going to throw
Yeah.
one honorable mention out there. Even though I think he's going to miss 4 games, Rashee Rice, I think he's going to miss 4 games. But in that offense, before he got hurt, he was on his way to 20 touchdowns and 1,700 receiving yards. I mean, this guy was having a monster year until he got hurt. So he's my honorable mention. I almost picked him over Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm sitting there like, man, I can't pick against Aiden Hutchinson, dude.
Yeah, I got the same one, guys. I think Aiden Hutchinson's definitely going to end up being the defensive player of the year or the comeback player of the year. And the reason is because if he just does what he's just has to be him. He doesn't have to be anything spectacular. And the fact that he missed the season last year, he's basically given the award. I think Christian McCaffrey would be my runner-up, but I expect him to miss more games. So I just don't know if he's going to play enough to be the comeback player of the year. I got Aiden Hutchinson as well. All right, guys, let's get into these rookies. Defensive rookie of the year. Sean?
Mine is we're going to go back to the NFC and an absolute thing that I love. The Giants taking Darius Alexander. They add him to an already savage defensive line with Roe Robinson Harris and Chauncey Golston. Jeremy Ledbetter, not to mention he's going to be learning.
Brian Burns and Jewel Carter.
Well, those two. And then he's going to be lining up next to 3-time Pro Bowler Dexter Lawrence. Yeah. This front for the Giants is insane. I think it's really set for a rookie. Darius Alexander can play free with the other guys taking up responsibility. And I know that Abdul Carter's over there, and everyone's like, oh, well, he could be the defensive player of the year. I'm not as sold on Carter as everybody else. We'll see how these injuries affect him and how he comes in or how he recovers and how fast he says. One setback to the shoulder or the foot or whatever injuries he has going on, I don't trust him this year. I still think he's an immensely talented player. But give me Darius Alexander. Flex Diggs just chimed in and said his guy is Derek Harmon. I like that pick as well, sir.
Good pick. Jason?
I'm going to go with Mason Graham only because obviously we were talking about it before at Cleveland here. You're pairing him up with Myles Garrett. And, if you're a quarterback or an offensive line, offensive coordinator, and you have to game plan for both Mason Graham and Myles Garrett. I mean, if Mason Graham is anything like he was in college, he's going to be a stud. And you're going to have to pay a lot of attention to him, but it's going to be really hard when you got Myles Garrett on the edge coming around.
The best player in football.
Dude, it's going to be a really, really fun watch that Cleveland defense. Offense, not so much, but defense is going to be really fun to watch.
Have a different quarterback every day.
Yeah. And what's going to be interesting is the Bears play them this year. So we don't know when they're going to play them, but if the Bears play them early in the season, that to me is going to be a really good barometer of how good this offensive line is and how well they're gelling together. Is if they can, hold their own. I don't even need them to dominate because Myles Garrett's going to get to the quarterback sooner or later and probably Mason Graham as well. You just need to make sure it's not like a 10-sack game because there's probably going to be a couple of those games for these guys together. Not that they're both going to have 10 sacks, but the other guys on the line are going to eat too. I mean, it's a really scary little defensive line that Cleveland's got going on right now.
Yeah, guys, this is one of those ones where I honestly, not only am I going to put money on it, but I would tell you guys to do the same as well because there's a very good chance that Jahad Campbell from the Philadelphia Eagles, middle linebacker, is going to be the defensive rookie of the year. This guy is being plugged into a well-oiled machine, one of the best defenses in the NFL that just won the Super Bowl. I can see this guy getting up to 130, 140, 150 tackles as a rookie in the NFL. He should have been drafted in the top 15. He was the best linebacker in this class, and he's going to one of the best teams in the NFL where, who's opening up holes for him? Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Jahad Campbell is going to have an absolute monster rookie season. Book it. You heard it here first on 4-Star Chicago Sports. He is going to be the defensive rookie of the year. Sean, offensive rookie of the year?
Well, this guy's built like a tank. He doesn't have a lot of competition in his backfield. Second-round draft capital, elite burst, goal line chops. Like college football, an explosive rate. There's 250 touches on the table. I'm going to go with my guy, R.J. Harvey in Denver. Look, I had a really hard time because I know that Caleb Johnson is going to be getting a bulk share of the carries. He's pretty much going to be installed into the Najee Harris role. And you guys know how much I loved Caleb Johnson coming into this draft. but I just like what's happened. Denver had, I believe, the number one running offensive line, blocking offensive line in the league last year. You now have RJ Harvey coming in there. This guy is a tank, man. If you guys have not seen his footage, he's a bowling ball. He's a little bit bigger than MJD, but he reminds me a little bit of him. He runs hard. He runs fierce. I love this guy. It's wheels up. RJ Harvey, NFL Rookie of the Year, Denver Broncos. Book it.
Jason.
My offensive rookie year is going to be Caleb Johnson, actually, Sean. And I'll tell you why. I think he is going to get like all of the carries. I don't think anybody else is going to be getting the ball there. And then James, the fact that we don't even know who the quarterback is really going to be. You know,
honestly, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
But that could hurt his offensive rookie because if they can't sustain drives and score touchdowns because they don't have a quarterback, that would hurt Caleb Johnson's offensive rookie of the year chances.
Yeah, but I think that guy's capable, and I think their offensive line is good. I think that guy is still going to run well. They may not win a lot of games, but he still is going to wind up with like 125 yards a game because they're not really going to have any other options.
Yeah, guys, mine's pretty easy, pretty obvious. It's the guy who's definitely going to get the most carries of everybody, any rookie running back. You don't draft a guy at number 6 to not play him. The Raiders don't have another good running back in the roster. I think they're pretty much done with Zamir White. They pretty much showed that last year. The offensive rookie of the year this year is going to be Ashton Genty. He's going to have a phenomenal season in Oakland. We talked about, or in Vegas, we talked about how
it was 1 second flex.
Geno Smith is not the best quarterback in the world, but he's certainly capable of sustaining drives, passing the ball, and scoring touchdowns. I think Ashton Genty is going to have a lot of them, and I think he's going to be. And you guys, you know what? I think the notoriety of him coming in the draft and just the status of him helps his chances as well. I think the NFL wants him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Their offense is going to be 2 guys. It's going to be Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty.
I like Jacoby Myers and Jack Beck as well. I think the Raiders are better than people give them credit for. Sean, what do you think about Coach of the Year?
Well, Coach of the Year, just slap me silly and call me a homer because, I'm going Coach of the Year. I got this guy's cooking it up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
He's going to bring it home.
Jason, that better be your damn Coach of the Year.
100% it's my Coach of the Year.
Yeah, we all got the same Coach of the Year, guys. I don't care. Call me biased all you want. If this team won 5 games last year, I think they're capable of winning 10. If they do that, if they make the playoffs and somehow win a playoff game, Ben Johnson is 100% the Coach of the Year. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, Vegas has him as the highest odds to be Coach of the Year as well. And Ashton Genty is the highest odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
If they make the playoffs, he makes Coach of the Year. I don't see any reason why anybody else would make it.
No doubt about it. I don't think it'll be much of a conversation because most of the coaches in the NFL who are primed to have good seasons this year had good seasons last year. Ben Johnson's about to turn a 5-win team into hopefully a playoff team. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
Quick, Flex Sticks put this up a couple times on the board, so let's get to this. Go around the table really quick. He goes, who makes more big plays between our 2 rookies, Loveland or Burden? And man, I really got to wrap my head around that.
That's a tough one, man.
I'm going to go with Loveland here.
I'm going Burden.
I think the target share is going to be more with Loveland than it will be with Burden.
I think it's going to be Burden because I think it's easier to implement wide receivers into the NFL than it is tight ends.
Sure.
I am going to say this is a tough one.
It ain't that hard.
It is because you could have Colston Loveland up the seam, and he can wind up with 6.
Sean, who gets the ball the most? Who gets the ball the most to Ben Johnson's offense?
Well, they say the slot, but and Burton's going to play the slot, but he's talking about splash plays.
Luther Burton's got the speed to create a lot of splash plays, dude. That's what he does. That's who he is.
What did they say about Colston Loveland? He's the best route runner. He creates separation with his route.
Guys, there's one thing I agree with with Don Burr here. It was a couple of weeks ago Don Burr said this, and I've watched hours and hours and hours of Colston Loveland's highlights. I've watched even the plays where he didn't play well. I've watched his whole games with him. Colston Loveland is he doesn't break tackles, man. He just doesn't. He's not that guy. He's the type of guy who's going to catch the ball 30 yards downfield, and he's going to get tackled 30 yards downfield. Luther Burden, you could throw a screen pass to, and he can take it 75 yards for a touchdown.
100%. I have some hesitations and some reservations about Luther Burden because of his attitude and whether that if they can get that out of him right away, and if that affects him on the field at all. Ben Johnson said out of his own mouth, I want to see how players act when the ball's not coming their way. What's the biggest knock on Burden? He acts like a bitch when the ball's not coming his way. So, if they can, we have the guy of the wide receiver coach in Antoine Randall who can make this work. It's a tough one, man. For me, it's tough. For me, it's tough because you could also see Roma Dunze move into that slot position and play that big slot role for the Bears. I mean, they've already talked about it. You can move.
Everybody's going to play every wide receiver position. That's just how it goes.
I think the Bears value that both tight end and the slot position very highly, and I think it's easier to ease Colston Loveland in because it's not like Cole Kmet's some bum, but I certainly don't want Zacchaeus playing the slot receiver when you just drafted Luther Burden, number 39. That guy should be on the field, and as long as he's not a head case, you don't have any of those mental issues, and he's not a distraction, he should be on the field immediately. And you know what, you guys, real quick, I want to bring this up because I didn't get a chance to text you guys this today. All of the NFL teams just came out with their way too early roster depth chart projections, right? If you go to the websites, all of them are listed. There's one team in the NFL that did not list a depth chart or a roster. Did you see this?
No.
The Bears, if you go to the website and click depth chart, you know what it says? Stay tuned till after training camp. Every single position on the field for the Chicago Bears is a competition. Now, I don't believe Caleb Williams is in a competition, but the Bears will tell you who he is. They'll tell you who he is.
Well, because they want to send a message. You can't be unfair in the team. When they say everybody, they mean everybody. But I mean, listen, Montez Sweat is going to start.
I just think it's awesome that Ben Johnson's like, you want a starting spot on this roster, on this depth chart? Then go out there and earn it. Show up to training camp, practice hard, and then we'll see who deserves to be starting for this team. That's awesome. Good for him.
Hey, I hope they both wind up having a ton of big plays. If you really want me to be honest, but
I hope it's very close. I hope that the competition ends up being this close.
Well, boys, we have the bare minimum tomorrow. I may be filling in. As you know, our boy Crafty had a baby. Camila, she's happy, healthy. She's at home. So congratulations once again.
Congratulations.
Not sure if he's going to make it in, but if he's not, I think I'm going to fill in tomorrow for Dustin, who is a fresh papa. So don't forget about that. Then we have on Saturday, the Northside 9 are hitting the skids a little bit, just dropped 2 or 3 to the Giants. But we have Cubs beat reporter Alex Pat joining the show. He's back. Y'all showed your love for him last time. Almost 1,000 views on the show. He's awesome. He's knowledgeable. He brings it hard. And we'll be enjoying
a great watch
this Saturday. I believe, what's the question, Kyle?
Sean, anything else before we get out of here?
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go. That'll
You know what? We need him to develop.
We do. I was saying, we've been playing this clip since we started. If this dude develops into something, he can go back and say, outside the fact he's a Kansas Jayhawk and I love him to death, we've been rocking you since day one, baby.
Yeah. Trax, Illinois Jones, Flex, Bruce, Antmass, who am I? T, Chris, Lindsay, everybody who joined us tonight. Phil, who am I missing, guys? Yeah. Jediah. We appreciate you guys joining us as always, man. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. It's always fun to chit chat Bears with somebody outside of our friend group here.
What about Bruce?
Thank you so much. Yeah, breaking news, Bruce, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
There he is.
Does a lot of work for us behind the scenes, as does Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. We appreciate you. Love you. Stay safe. Take care of yourself so we can take care of each other. And we will see you. I will see you Saturday.
Yeah, check out the CSPs jumping off here in about 12 minutes. And
I'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Boys at the Chicago Sports Clubhouse. They are doing their fantasy show as well right now. So spread some love around. Jump around to all these shows. We got a great community. So we love everybody. Thank you all. And until we see you again, bear down.
Bear down.